party at the same time. So, this thing with the bad taste, it's not great. It hasn't been great since the start of the pandemic, and they've been planning this for a long time, and it's opportunism, isn't it?
Let me read you another couple of messages to 85058 and at 5 Live Sport. Loads coming in. Thank you very much for these. Jack, no reducing to 18 teams. I still miss the day when there were 22 in the top division. The only good part of this proposal is the money the EFL would get. The rest of the ideas, my answer is no, thank you. Ben Foster, let me put this to you from Matt. He says, I hate the idea, but there are benefits. Reduced fixture list means lower injury rates. Reduced squad sizes means lower wage bills. Less fatigue at the end of the season. German football has 18 teams in their top league, and they have a winter break.
For me, one of the proposals was the abolition of the League Cup. I don't see what the problem with that is. I haven't heard anybody opposed to that whatsoever. That for me is a huge place where teams can save the fixture list. There's already been this season three rounds already have been played in the League Cup for League Cup teams especially, and that's a huge schedule for teams at the start of the season, which is already going to be a congested fixture list anyway. That for me can go. That's like I say, I haven't heard anybody opposing that. So I agree with some of the parts of it, but a lot of it is just it's nothing more than a short-term power grab. It's a chance for them to get hold of it, get themselves a lot more money, and it's opportunism. Like Rob said there, it's huge opportunism, taking advantage of the COVID that's going on, and the longer it goes on at the minute, it's just going to leave these teams in a weaker and weaker position.
The other thing to bear in mind as well, Steve, is when you talk about reduced fixtures, and the top clubs complain that the players are playing too much at the minute, but the gap created by losing the League Cup fixtures and also going from 20 to 18 clubs in the Premier League will probably be filled by extra European matches once the next European deal in 2024 is finalised. So again, the big clubs are thinking about the extra revenue that they can get from an expanded European Champions League or whatever guise that might take. It's all about the money for the big six. That's what it's about. And for the lower clubs, it's about survival. So they need the money, and they're in a vulnerable position because so many are on the brink. They might not survive. The landscape is going to change. Something might need to happen, and I think it's trying to find that compromise. But you can't give the power to the big six. The six top clubs cannot dictate, in my opinion, to the rest of the English, what we would be left with, looking at 90 Premier League clubs. So you'd have the big six dictating what happens to the other 84.
Rob?
Yes, mate.
I thought you wanted to come in. Sorry.
I think it's we're looking at it, and you're looking at where it's going to go, and I think this again. Dano just touched on it again. You call it what you will, the European Super League. It's going to go that way. Let's not kid ourselves. At times, the big six. I've been to Manchester City a number of times. You're just saying here, and you go there, and they're advertising for tickets for the European games that week. They're not selling out at times. So it's not about, it's replacing the games with games that are just basically TV related. And we've seen over the course of this pandemic another reaction to the charging of, is it £16 for a televised game, a one-off fee. The number of things that they're getting wrong right now is building. And I just think at the moment it's, like we're saying, poor timing and really, really leaving a sour taste in people's mouths.
The Telegraph report does suggest that in the proposals the League Cup could continue, but without the teams that are playing in Europe, we should say. And I think as well, the reaction that there's been so far this afternoon from the Premier League suggests that it could potentially turn nasty, this. This is now out in the open, all of the details, and so they will be watching very carefully to see what the reaction is to this. This is an opening gambit, but I think the opening gambit from the Premier League, as Ian mentioned again there, the fact that they are very strong against this could have a damaging impact on the whole game. We are disappointed in Rick Parry. That's a very strong opening position from the Premier League.
I think also as well, if we're talking about the European Super League, which essentially this is what it is about eventually, that's going to be where the money is. The big teams aren't stupid. They know that that's where the real money is going to come from. So this is where you're going to see the Premier League just become less and less important especially for these big teams. The money isn't in the Premier League. It's going to be in this European Super League. So you see it with the likes of the League Cup at the minute. It's a full chance to rest players. You'll have that in a few years' time, without doubt, where they'll have a big European Super League match in the week or whenever it's due to be played. The Premier League match on the Saturday afternoon will be, it's almost not as important. So you'll have lesser players playing. It won't be the spectacle that we've grew up with it being. I'm 37 years old. I've grew up with the Premier League, English football particularly, just being the best league. It's the most competitive league, and I've thoroughly enjoyed that growing up, and I'd love that for my kids as well. My boy, 11 years old, he's going to grow up just seeing this sort of European Super League thing being the pinnacle of football, and that for me just loses its charm completely.
So are we talking here about the possibility of an impasse which leads to the Premier League saying to Manchester United, Liverpool, which other clubs are involved in this? Are we looking at a scenario whereby somewhere down the line the Premier League says, if you want to do this, you're off on your own, and we'll run the Premier League for those who want to be in it?
It's going to be a breakaway, isn't it? We're talking 1992, and when the Premier League broke away from the Football League, and it's the beginnings again. And this is the first steps towards this, I think, and it's going to be a long, drawn-out affair. And as you say, you could get uglier and uglier as we go along.
Well, I mean, what's the prospect of the top division in England without Manchester United and Liverpool?
Not one that I want to think of.
No, me neither. No, thank you.
There's also changes to the loan system, which is mentioned as well. The idea that far more players could be loaned out by Premier League clubs, and more per club as well. So whilst we're discussing the idea that this might be the sort of de facto way toward a European Super League, is this also, Ben, possibly the de facto way towards what, the idea of Premier League B? You could almost have a similar scenario, because you have so many players on the books of Liverpool, Manchester United, etc., on loan at these clubs. Is it just another way to do it?
Chelsea must be rubbing their hands if it means more loan players. That's again, it's something that just loses its charm for me. I don't think it's a thing where you can go and employ 40, 50 first-team Premier League players just because you know that you're going to be loaning 25, 30 of them out, and then even if they don't make the grade, they can sell them. It's just that's not what football's about for me. It's about having your starting team, having a strong team, a strong 16, 17 players. That's what it should be about.
Are you falling out of love with this, Ben? Again,
that today for me, reading all this kind of stuff, it doesn't. I think the sorry thing is really it doesn't surprise either. I think we've been close to this kind of announcement in recent years, but today it's not nice to read, it's not nice to see, but it doesn't surprise at all.
I think.
Go on, Rob. Sorry.
Steve, yeah, I think the other, the one thing that we're talking about the loans there, what no one wants to talk about, and no one wants, because we do have such a wonderful structure in our football pyramid, is feeder teams, and that's one that you will effectively have. But you go back to, I go back to say my dad, who's a Bolton fan, and he turn around and say, would you want to be a Manchester City B or not have a club? And at this moment in time, the distinct possibility of not having a club is very, very real. Now, it's not something anybody relishes, but it's a distinct possibility with the way these negotiations have started out, or the benchmarks of where they want to start from. So it's really ugly, and it's like Ben says, it could really, really put a lot of people off football.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, just reading the text gives you that idea to 85058 and at 5 Live Sport. I'll give you a couple more. There's loads. Riley, the big clubs making out this is about saving the EFL when they're only bothered about themselves. They don't care that they'll be destroying English football in the process. And Stuart, last time they got together, it was to try and create a European Super League with no promotion or relegation. Manchester United and Liverpool have only their best interests at heart. 85058 at 5 Live Sport is the way to get in touch with us. We've got half an hour to go until England versus Belgium, so we'll return our focus there very shortly. It's finished in the the Women's Super League in the game between Chelsea and Manchester City. Katie Shanahan.
And the reigning champions Chelsea have beaten Manchester City by 3-1, and Chelsea deserve it, Steve. They've been the better team. So Chelsea took the lead through a penalty. It was for a Demi Stokes handball in the box. Maren Mjelde converted it to put them 1-0 up. Sam Kerr got Chelsea's second, poking home from close range. City then pulled one back. Another penalty for handball, this time Millie Bright giving it away. Chloe Kelly then scored it with a sumptuous finish straight into the top corner. Fran Kirby then made it 3-1 as Chelsea now move up to third in the WSL and remain unbeaten in their last 25 WSL matches, equaling their longest undefeated run in the competition, as Chelsea have beaten Manchester City by 3-1 here at the Kingsmeadow.
We'll get the winning putt at Wentworth, Ian Carter.
Yes, not much suspense about it, must be said, Steve, because Tyrrell Hatton has played quite beautifully, and although he was somewhat fortunate with his approach shot, his second shot into this famous par 5 on the west course at Wentworth, it managed to just skirt over the water. He's pitched up to around about 4 feet, and this is a birdie that would mean he would finish at 19 under par. Just a couple of practice swings, and now in all blue, Hatton settles over this putt to round off the biggest win of his career, and there it is. The ball disappears. There's the clenched fist. There is the broadest of smiles. Tyrrell Hatton has done it, as I say, the biggest win of his career. He's finished at 19 under par. He's won by 4 shots here, and it really has been a wonderful performance. Very nervous in the opening stages, but managed to have his short game rescue him over the opening couple of holes, and then around the turn he really hit the accelerator. One short missed putt at the 13th, but otherwise immaculate stuff from Hatton, who now moves towards the world's top 10 and can celebrate a massive win, the biggest golf tournament in Britain this year, and it's gone to an Englishman, the 28-year-old Tyrrell Hatton.
And the highlights are on BBC Two at 6 p.m. He's raising his fist. Is Novak Djokovic making more of a fist in the men's French Open final? David Law.
It feels like last stand stuff, this, though, for Djokovic. 4 games all in the third set, but he trails 2 sets to love. 6-love, 6-2 for Nadal, the 12-time champion, trying to win a 13th French Open crown and to pull level with Roger Federer on 20 Grand Slam titles. But Djokovic playing much better in this third set. Nadal looking a little bit edgy. It's 4 games all in the third as Djokovic tries to stay alive.
Eric Dyer and Gareth Southgate to come before kick-off at Wembley Stadium. England versus Belgium gets underway at 5. Then we have Scotland-Slovakia at 7:45. Earlier, thanks for staying with us if you managed to, for Republic of Ireland 0, Wales 0. Back to Wembley Stadium after the news. Nick Hatfield.
On digital, BBC Sounds, smart speaker and online.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you, Steve. Good afternoon. The Community Secretary Robert Jenrick says it's right the government is taking a localised approach to dealing with coronavirus. But he insists they are not penalising certain areas. Local leaders in the north of England say they haven't been consulted properly over new restrictions, which will be announced tomorrow. Donald Trump says it appears that he's immune from coronavirus. In an interview with Fox News, the US president said he's in great shape after showing symptoms 10 days ago and spending 3 days in hospital. He's expected to get back out campaigning tomorrow. More than 150,000 people have now died in Brazil after catching COVID-19. That's the second highest figure after the US. Brazil's president, Jair Bolsonaro, has been criticised for his handling of the pandemic. He called it a little flu and opposed local lockdown measures. Nicola Sturgeon has repeated her call for Margaret Ferrier to quit as an MP after she took a train from London to Glasgow despite knowing she had coronavirus. Ms Ferrier has told the paper it was out of character for her and that she panicked. She has been suspended by the SNP.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live. On digital, BBC Sounds, smart speaker and online.
A look on the roads on the M1 southbound in Northamptonshire. 2 lanes are closed and queuing traffic due to a crash from the M1 Watford Gap services. That's to 16 Daventry. Travel time is about 20 minutes. In Surrey on the M3 northbound, 2 lanes are closed and traffic is queuing for 4 miles. That's because of a crash from junction 3, Lightwater to the M25. And in Oxfordshire on the M40 southbound, there is 2 lanes closed and queuing traffic because of an overturned vehicle. That's from 10 Brackley to 9 Bicester. That's 5 Live Travel. I'm Nick Hatfield.
Available now on BBC Sounds.
This issue is too important and too urgent to leave it only to federal governments.
This is What Planet Are We On? It's a brand new podcast from the BBC. It's about climate change and how we live on this planet.
The next generation deserve us to think harder and think better.
What we've done is become part of this throwaway culture.
We want to unravel the impact we're having on the world and what we can all do about it.
We are going to have to live more economically than we do, and we can do that.
What planet are we on?
Listen on BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sport
with Steve Crossman.
25 minutes to go until kick-off at Wembley Stadium. England versus Belgium, the number one ranked team in the world. One of Gareth Southgate's stated aims is to take England to that position on top of the rankings. Our correspondent John Murray has been speaking to Southgate about this.
They deserve huge credit for the consistency of their performances. They had a tremendous World Cup, beating Brazil within that. I think Roberto's done a fantastic job with them, and they've got some absolutely outstanding players that their system has developed, and that as a national team, they've over the last couple of years in particular started to deliver the performances which I think that talent warranted, really. So it's a really tough test. I guess both of us would be sitting there saying, well, however highly we're ranked, we would be looking at France and Portugal because of what they've won, and also using them as a really high benchmark to challenge ourselves. So we've got a great opportunity to really have a fantastic game, a really good test, and of course also trying to advance ourselves into the latter stages of the Nations League. So there's a lot riding on the game for both teams.
When you are both at full strength, how well matched do you think you are?
Well, I feel as if we're closer. I mean, I don't think either team is going to be at full strength, but we, I feel, have got closer. If I look at our team compared to the team that went to the World Cup, we've got far more belief in what's possible, and I think they were definitely further ahead than us on their journey as a team when we went to Russia. I think they went as realistic contenders to win, and we went as the most inexperienced team in the competition. So there was definitely a difference. The two games were a bit strange. I mean, the first one, both of us changed our entire team, and the second one was, for us, 2 days after a semi-final that went to extra time. We didn't even know who was going to be fit enough to play until about 2 hours before the game. So quite unusual circumstances, but nevertheless, they deserved to win the game, and we know the quality that they've got, and of course, so many talented players that we know from the Premier League as well.
Gareth Southgate there with John Murray. We have John and Ian Dennis at Wembley Stadium alongside Rob Green, and Ben Foster is with us as well. How close do you think England are to Belgium now then, Ben?
Yeah, they're not a million miles away. I think we kind of need to try and believe our hype a little bit more. We saw it in the World Cup, a couple of years ago now, that I think we genuinely had started to turn the tide, and we had started to really believe in ourselves. It seemed to sort of ebbed away a little bit over the last year or so. But I think tonight's going to be a very, very good sort of benchmark to see how far we've come, because it's a very good Belgium side as well.
Rob, don't just say yes, mate.
No. What I find interesting from the other night as well, and it wasn't the greatest of starts against Wales, but the confidence that the players, the squad players, shall we say, the guys who got given a chance, that they stepped forward and stepped up. So you're looking at the likes of Conor Cody, Calvert-Lewin, and people like that who've now stepped into the squad, and probably after that game the other night feel so much more at home because of it, and that adds to the improvement of the squad as a whole. And we've seen over the last couple of weeks the way that the squads can change, and the way that, with the COVID pandemic, that with players who are even fit can drop out at any given moment. So you're looking at now more than ever, particularly with the internationals and maybe going into a major tournament next summer, that actually the squad game's going to be far greater. And Gareth Southgate touched on it there. They both changed the teams for one game in a World Cup. So it's, I think think as a squad they're getting closer. As a strong 11, we'll have to wait and see. But I do think that pressure from behind is going to make a difference.
Yeah, I'm with you, Rob. I think some of the players that have come in really have shown confidence. They've taken to it so well. The likes of Grealish the other night, Nick Pope looked brilliant for me. Even young Bukayo Saka did really well as well. I think the starting 11, especially tonight, it doesn't scream confidence to me. It doesn't scream in form either. There's a few positions which I didn't predict myself, Mason Mount being one of them. I honestly thought Jack Grealish would get the nod tonight. I don't really understand that one for me, because that, if you read into it a little bit more, I think it almost looks then that Jack Grealish is his third choice sort of striker, really, behind almost Jadon Sancho as well. Michael Keane again tonight, I thought he might have got the nod. Conor Cody. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting game tonight for sure.
Ben, I've waited to ask you this question until we heard from Gareth Southgate. Right at the start, you said it's a Gareth Southgate team, that's for sure. What does that mean?
For me, I think Gareth, he likes to play the players that sort of fit his system, if that makes sense. He likes players that he knows what he's going to get from. I think he looks at the reliability of players, where I think, like, take Jack Grealish, for example. I think for me, he has to start for any team. Not far off in the world at the minute. He is that good at the minute. He's on form. His confidence is sky high. You see when he gets the ball. I saw it at times last season when we would play against Aston Villa. Jack Grealish gets on the ball and it makes everybody back off. It gets you on your back foot straight away. That's the sort of player that strikes fear into the opposition. I really did think we'd see him tonight, but it's a bit more of a sort of conservative England team. We saw it against Denmark a few weeks ago as well. A very conservative looking team, and I'd have just liked to see a little bit more sort of flair up there.
I think we should say as well, Steve, that something that Gareth Southgate has to take into account when selecting these teams, as well as obviously wanting the team that he selects to win all of these matches, is the number of matches players have played, the demands that there are on them with their clubs at the moment, and also the relative fitness of the players. So I think that has to be considered to be part of the thinking process when he's picking these sides.
One thing that I remember Gareth Southgate actually saying to me in Russia at the World Cup is that looking forward he wanted risk takers. Now, looking at that squad, he now does have risk takers, but Rob Green, Ben's just described this team as conservative, so is there an argument that maybe more risk takers, which is something he said he wanted, should be going into the team?
Risk takers, but in the shape I like them to play, yeah. No, I think it's an interesting dynamic, and it's one that I was looking at, and you have different managers who do different things, and I look at Roy Hodgson, who was obviously one of Gareth Southgate's predecessors. You're looking at it, he said, I will pick a shape and I will get the team to a certain position on the pitch. Then it's down to the risk takers. Then you go and play. And he would encourage that player or that one or two individuals in the team that he allowed to be within the 11 to, okay, you've got a bit of a license, that's your role. I don't see that within this team. I see them, it's a different type of team. It's the pace, and it's that dynamic movement from the front three around there and the wing backs that give them that. But we go back to the games against Denmark and Iceland, and at times when you've got a team like Iceland who sit off, sometimes you need those risk takers. And I think Gareth Southgate, Jack Grealish was a long way off the squad not many games ago. Now he's in there, and he played well against Wales. He made the difference, and I think Gareth Southgate will be looking at him going, oh, okay, right, nice one. This is the way I play, but if we need a plan B, he's a brilliant option. And I think from where he was 2-3 squads ago, I think Jack Grealish has made a massive strides to get to that position.
Well, such big strides, Ian. I think I'm right in saying Gareth Southgate was asked to compare him to Paul Gascoigne in his pre-match press conference, which he sort of swiftly and quite rightly swatted aside.
Yeah, he was, because in the words of Gareth Southgate, Paul Gascoigne as an individual was on another level, and he said that Gascoigne was just so unique, he was incredible, and then he named a whole host of players who Gareth Southgate had played with, and he says that Gascoigne was just head and shoulders above the rest. You're going to make those comparisons with Jack Grealish because he is that type of player. He is somebody who gets you to the edge of your seat. He is somebody who, as we saw against Wales, the way that he drifted over to the right and delivered a cross, he can change games. He can influence games. And I agree with Rob that, when Mason Greenwood was named, he was named ahead of Jack Grealish for the games against Iceland and Denmark, and Jack Grealish wasn't in the picture at that stage, and Mason Greenwood was seen to be ahead of him in the perceived pecking order. He wouldn't necessarily start in your front three because that would be Sterling, Kane and Rashford, but he is one of those players, and that's the luxury that Gareth Southgate has got, that he can turn to him. And also, let's not forget that during the game against Wales, his thigh was heavily strapped as well, so for all we know, he might be carrying a slight knock. Gareth Southgate might have one eye on Denmark on Wednesday and thinking, well, I can't play him in both this game and the game on Wednesday, so it might be a balancing act as far as the manager is concerned with trying to look ahead as well for the next match.
Steve, I think as well, I'll finish up with Jack Grealish as well. Ben talking about how difficult he is to play against. We've all seen it, and I've seen it at close quarters covering the games, and he's amazing to watch, but also he gets given such a licence when he's at Aston Villa. He goes off and he'll find himself at left back. He'll find himself on the other side of the pitch doing that, and then sometimes, even during some games, he'll walk off the pitch and go and have a little word with himself and just come back on a little bit, 30 seconds later or something. But he's given that licence. I don't think on the international scene you can afford that sort of licence.
Yeah, I think that's exactly. Quickly jumping in on that. That's exactly why I say I think this is a Gareth Southgate team. He's not that sort of manager to allow his players just complete and utter freedom to roam wherever they want. He likes them to be risk takers, slightly less risk takers than Jack Grealish.
Novak Djokovic is probably going to need to take some risks if he's going to get back into the Men's French Open final. He has worked himself at least back into the third set. 6-love, 6-2. Nadal won the first two. It's 5-all in the third, and we've got a commentary now on 5 Live Sports Extra. So we've been talking about Jack Grealish, who is not in the side for England in our kickoff, which is less than 14 minutes away against Belgium at Wembley. What about Kevin De Bruyne, creative force, of course, in the Belgian side? He does start, and he's been talking about what potential the England side has.
I've already spoken a lot of times with my English teammates in my team, and I think they should be excited. I think it's a very young team with a lot of potential, and I think they should aim of winning the next Euros and next World Cup. I think they have that potential. Obviously, there's always a lot of teams who want to win it, but I think with the team they have, the people who play in top clubs, they should do that. And it's obviously going to be a big test for us, but I think these other tests are necessary also for us to see what's going to against the big teams, and even with the personnel that we are losing for the moment, it's maybe going to be a little bit harder, but I think we are confident that we can play a good game.
We talk a lot about the sheer number of matches that are going to be played, both at international level, club level, almost for as far as the eye can see because of the congested schedule. As someone who is very often expected to be in the starting 11, whichever team you're playing in, is that a worry for you?
I'm worried sometimes, yeah. Just because, if I look at my personal situation, I had about 8-9 days off in the summer. and obviously I couldn't go on holiday because my wife was pregnant at the time. So basically, I've not had the holiday, and if the season goes on, that means that I have 2 years without a break. So it takes its all, I think, especially mentally, because I think like everybody, you need a break just to switch off about everything, and I think your body needs to heal in a certain way. But nobody listens to players anyway. I know everybody talks about you earn a lot of money, you should handle it, but it's the way it goes, and we'll take it on the chin. But I can see a lot of injuries coming in general for everybody.
So can you play within yourself, or is that just not possible to protect yourself?
That's a really difficult one, because I know myself. Well, whenever I go on the pitch, I give 100%, and I can't play on 80, and that's maybe also an issue for myself. Whenever I'm able to go, I will go. Maybe not benefiting myself, but yeah, I think this is how the players think about it, I guess.
That is fascinating. More on that in a second. Let's check back in at Roland Garros. David Law.
Because Rafael Nadal is serving for the title. He leads 2-0, 6-5. He's finally broken Djokovic's resistance in this third set. He's serving for a 13th French Open title to pull level with Roger Federer on 20 Grand Slam titles.
Ben Foster, it's brilliant having you on Zoom because you're so demonstrative. I already know what you think about everything without even asking. As soon as Kevin De Bruyne there started talking about how much it takes its toll, your eyebrows just shot up.
It's true though. It's I think when people say it, people kind of listen and take note of it. When any sort of other footballer says it, I think when people like Kevin De Bruyne says it, people should probably listen a little bit more. He's completely right though. Footballers are not robots. You can't just keep operating at 95, 96% all the time. You have to have a little break. You have to have a little switch off. It's not just to rest your body. If you're going away on holiday, it isn't just to rest your body and recuperate all these little niggles, which footballers play with 99% of the time. You've always got something wrong with you. Something's tight, something's not right. But for your head as well, you just need the space, you just need a break away from it all, completely reset, and when you come back, even if it's a week, a week off is absolutely heaven for you. It really is.
Do love listening to Kevin De Bruyne, John. Obviously, you were talking to him there. I mean, is there nothing he can't do? Great player, great talker.
Yes, he spoke on quite a wide range of subjects yesterday afternoon, not least the fact that he was expecting to speak to Manchester City, or expecting to hear from Manchester City with regard to a new contract, how much he enjoys being there. You would have expected him to say that, of course, but I thought to say that, yes, I am worried in terms of how much football I'm going to have to play. I think for a player of that standing, of that talent, to say that he is worried about what the impact might be on his physical condition, I thought really jumped out at me.
Oh, Rafael Nadal is on the edge, David Law. 3
championship points for the great Rafael Nadal to win the French Open for a 13th time and to draw level with Roger Federer on 20 Grand Slam titles. He serves to the world number one with an ace, out wide by Rafael Nadal, who sinks to his knees and punches the air, because for the first time in his entire career, he is level. He has finally caught Roger Federer and is level with him at 20 Grand Slam titles. He has demolished the world number one, Novak Djokovic. 6-love, 6-2, 7-5, a 13th French Open for Rafael Nadal.
Incredible performance from Nadal in his 26 Grand Slam finals. That's only the third time Djokovic has lost in straight sets. It's also the least number of games he has ever won in a Grand Slam final. 7. His previous worst, if you like, was 13 against Andy Murray at Wimbledon in 2013. So huge victory for Rafael Nadal. And he is right up there again with Roger Federer. Ben Foster, before we lose you, 3 centre-backs for England, not 2 centre-backs. Which do you prefer to play behind and why?
3 centre-backs and 3 right-backs as well. Let's add that in there just while we're there. We actually play 3 centre-backs at Watford, and I don't mind it at all, to be honest with you. As a goalkeeper, from where I stand, there's not a huge difference between having a flat back 4 or a back 3 with sort of 4 or 5 in midfield. I think for England, Harry Maguire, it will help him out a lot, to be honest with you. We all know that he's a very talented footballer. Speed, though, is is not one of his biggest assets, is it? And I think having, the likes of Walker and Dyer behind him, who can sort of be running in behind and getting about the pitch a lot quicker than he can, it will definitely help him out a lot more.
Great to have you on this afternoon, Ben. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Ben Foster there, who's been with us on 5 Live Sport ahead of England versus Belgium. We'll have more from Ben a little bit later at half-time and full-time as well. So we've already had Republic of Ireland 0, Wales 0, Scotland, Slovakia still to come at 7:45. But let's take you to Wembley Stadium, where England play host to the best in the world. Rob Green is there. Your commentary team is John Murray, and first, Ian Dennis.
Thank you, Steve. Well, the two teams aren't out just as yet, but it gives an opportunity to run through the England team, where Gareth Southgate has made the 9 changes from the side that beat Wales just a few days ago, and only Trippier and Calvert-Lewin remain. So Jordan Pickford is back in goal. He's previously played 15 of the 17 England internationals, 4 successive clean sheets. Still Gareth Southgate's number 1. A back 3, Kyle Walker making his 50th cap, the 61st man to reach such a milestone. Eric Dyer and Harry Maguire make up that 3-man defence. Trent Alexander-Arnold is the right wing back. Kieran Trippier is the left wing back, just as he was against Denmark. Declan Rice and Jordan Henderson in the centre of midfield. Jordan Henderson is the captain for England. It's the 7th time that he's had such an honour. And Mason Mount, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Marcus Rashford, MBE, are the front 3. Harry Kane is on the bench, hasn't properly trained during the week due to some muscle fatigue, so he is on the bench as Jordan Henderson, carrying the pennant, leads out England. And what a shame that, again, it's behind closed doors and no one here is inside this stadium to witness the arrival of the side that is ranked number 1 in the world, Belgium, who line up as follows, and they are not at full strength either. Mignolet's in goal. It's a back 3 of Alderweireld, Denayer and Boyata. There is no Vertonghen, despite him training yesterday, but not included in the 23 with that broken cheekbone. Meunier is the right wing back, Castagnier is the left wing back, Witsel and Tielemans in the centre of midfield, and a front 3 of Carrasco, Lukaku and Kevin De Bruyne. So what do you make of that, Rob Green?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Again, we saw the difficulty of Trippier playing on the left for England, and as a wing back, when you're looking to play your options and you're looking forward, you want to be stepping out onto your stronger foot. It's not going to happen to him.
We now stand for the anthems, beginning with the national anthem for Belgium. Been staying across the road. The captain for Belgium, Kevin De Bruyne, said he felt the Wembley Hilton was like a second home to him. Here's the anthem for England. Just a word as well, because a lot of the attention will be on Marcus Rashford, MBE, and I was reading in the Telegraph today, James Ducker, Marcus Rashford wearing specially designed blackout boots today, carrying messages from 40 school children. He's launched the Marcus Rashford Boot Project in celebration of Black History Month. I am the future of, and then from 40 children from schools in Manchester, Harlow and Sheffield. What an outstanding individual Marcus Rashford is.
It's been an incredible achievement for him, hasn't it? And something that, he's spoken from the heart, from his own experiences, and at such a young age to find such a great cause and to do it so well and to mean so much to so many people. It's been wonderful to watch.
Well, that is one hell of a large huddle that not only the Belgium starting 11 have formed, but also the entire backroom staff. So you had the all red of the Belgian shirts on the right-hand side, and then the backroom staff in their black training tops to the left as they now break, and England in their white shirts and navy shorts. And for Jordan Henderson, back in the England fold, actually hasn't appeared for England since last October because he was suspended for the game against Montenegro, and then he missed the match in Kosovo, so back wearing an England shirt for the first time in a year.
Yeah, it's been longer than you think. You kind of picture Jordan Henderson with Gareth Southgate now as an anonymous part of that team. So, it's a big day for him, but also as a driving force. We've seen it with Liverpool, we've seen it with England over the years now, that especially without the crowds, he is that voice, he is that person that gets his teams going. He takes a lot of criticism for maybe not having some on the ball flair and that side of things, but what he brings to the team as a driving force is massive.
Tobias Stieler from Germany is the referee. Belgium in this first half will be playing from right to left, all in red, with the black diagonal flashes going across the front of their jersey as the players take the knee. Romelu Lukaku in the centre circle with his right arm held aloft. And there is the whistle, and now everybody back to their feet. And the game will be about to get underway with England in their white shirts and navy shorts playing from left to right. Shaft of sunlight going on to the banners that are behind the goal of Jordan Pickford, all in yellow, away towards our left-hand side. We're singing for England, our time, our history, our heroes. Well, sadly, nobody inside Wembley Stadium singing for England, because this would have been, I'm sure, a sellout for the arrival of Belgium, who beat England twice, of course, during the World Cup, as Denayer comes under some early pressure from Mason Mount, and then Mignolet, who actually captained Belgium against the Ivory Coast in the week, clears. Rashford plays the ball early. Here is Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin slips, springs back onto his feet very quickly, comes to Trippier, left wing back, joining the attack. Rashford now on that left-hand side. It's a shame he just couldn't keep his balance as the ball goes back. Kyle Walker in that familiar position, right-hand side of the three, where he of course played for England in the World Cup in Russia, and as a result they go all the way back. But this will be a test for England, even though Belgium aren't at full strength themselves. It will be a good opportunity for England to test themselves against the world number one side.
There was a good break there from England, and Calvert-Lewin, he's just on the shoulder, and he loves to play on the shoulder of the centre-halves. Just got the through ball through, and yeah, he was a slip away from being in. Ball played forward. Calvert-Lewin's made that run. Mason Mount's gone through already. Some nice early touches from Mason Mount, who I thought impressed as a substitute against Wales on Wednesday night. They were looking to try and play the ball out towards Alexander-Arnold on this near side. But Timothy Castagnier of Leicester City, doubt himself ahead of the game with a slight shoulder injury, heads the ball out. So up against the advertising hoardings is Alexander-Arnold, and in fact he'll take another ball off one of those little cones there. They're ready for a throw on this near side. The referee's just stopping play. Declan Rice has got to do his boots. So that was the slight hold-up here on BBC Radio 5 Live at Wembley Stadium. Looking for the movement. Mason Mount able to turn, right-hand side of the penalty area, right corner, up against Tielemans, out to Alexander-Arnold, cross is blocked, Denayer lets it roll down his chest and then clears it away up towards Lukaku, holding off Eric Dyer. Lukaku to Tielemans, he's tried to hit the ball early towards De Bruyne, and De Bruyne is going to get onto the end of this. That was a great ball, De Bruyne. Cross charge down. And it was good play by Declan Rice, who'd seen the danger and filled the hole.
Lovely ball though, wasn't it? Swept out to him.
That was an incredible ball by Tielemans, and it's worth watching that on its own for today for the highlights. That was one of the best balls of this season so far. He's hit it just above head height of Declan Rice, who's running back, who must have been panicking because he saw De Bruyne, who was in. He did so well to get back.
Trippier, just about 10 yards in from the touchline. Rice now across to Walker, making his 50th cap, just bends his knees, angles his body with the chest back towards Eric Dyer, who was talking yesterday when we were speaking to him, and I meant to actually ask him we have to interview the players through the Zoom because of obviously the social distancing, and once we'd finished the interview I meant to ask him about his record against Lukaku, because everyone was saying, what's it like to play against, and he was saying, yeah, he's difficult, we all know the strengths, and I worked out he's played 7 times and Lukaku's never scored against Tottenham during that time. However, Dyer was playing as a midfielder, and unless I'm mistaken, he's never come up against him as a defender before. Bearing in mind, Iceland was the first time he started a game in defence for England, as Rashford will carry the ball, strong run into the penalty area. Rashford on that far side, has Trippier behind him. So it's not a bad record, but he was never the defender when he was against Lukaku. Rashford, left-hand side, good ball in, headed away by Boyata, formerly of Manchester City and Celtic, of course. Again, nice control that by Mason Mount. Brought it definitely down off the chest. Nice little touch with the right foot. Just cushioned the ball, drifted out towards the left. And you think that England took time to settle against Wales. There's been a few touches here where the confidence, and straight away they seem to be finding a little bit of a groove. Yeah, they're really confident. They're playing on the front foot as well. The back three are really, really high, playing in behind the 2 midfielders, which is different from what we saw against Denmark and Iceland. And also the wing-backs are pushing high up, so Belgium being forced back early doors. And it's a confident, open display from this English side. Here is Jordan Henderson, the England captain in the absence of Harry Kane, who's on the bench. Dyer back to Maguire. De Bruyne, who's right of the 3 for Belgium, was putting pressure on Harry Maguire. Across to this near side to Kyle Walker. Trent Alexander-Arnold's ahead of him. Goes back to Walker, up towards Calvert-Lewin. Shows himself, chested off. Walker sees the ball and hits it quickly and switches play to the left-hand side to Trippier. Trippier now will go on ahead of Marcus Rashford, who's midway through the Belgium half. Witzel's now standing in front of him. And then it's back once more. Rice to Jordan Henderson. But England are playing with an assurance here. 5 minutes played, 0-0 it remains on BBC Radio 5 Live. Henderson then loses out to Tielemans. Now Witzel. Early ball. Lukaku able on the half turn. De Bruyne gives it back to Lukaku outside the centre circle. Henderson might just have tripped him a little bit, accidentally, just impeded him somewhat. And Belgium will then go back. Alderweireld. Boyata, who's playing at the heart of the 3. Denier. Back more to Boyata once more. And Alderweireld of Tottenham. So 4 current Premier League players in this Belgian side, but a lot of experience as well, and some familiar names from those who have played in England as well. Denier, Boyata, and of course Lukaku, Belgium's record goal scorer. Here is Maguire stepping forward onto the left-hand side. Rashford's just ahead of him. He then turns as England play from left to right. Rice to Walker. Alexander-Arnold on this near side just over the halfway line. Castagnier was putting him under a little bit of pressure to Kyle Walker, looking to turn, and does so. Dyer, who's at the heart of that 3-man defence, across towards Maguire. But they're moving the ball a lot quicker than they did against Wales in the early stages of the friendly. It's sharp, and what's happening is Belgium is now holding such a high line. The game is being played in almost a 30-yard area of the pitch, so the passing has to be sharp, it has to be good. Henderson looking for the diagonal ball, and our flag is raised, and it was coming back from an offside position on that far side. It was Kieran Trippier who'd got forward. So again, he's playing on that left-hand side, as despite being a right back, naturally left-footed players in this England side, but he's getting used to it now, isn't he? Yeah, and the wing-backs are advanced, and because both teams are so high and so aggressive in their starts, the space is in behind, but it's going to have to come from a 3rd man run. It's going to have to come from
someone not from the front three because of the offsides, because of the high line. So someone like Trippier or Trent Alexander-Arnold will have to start making those runs for the passes.
It does help England, of course, that Kevin De Bruyne, the Belgian captain, isn't playing in the position that he would prefer to play in the centre of midfield.
He gets the ball and he looks up and he's only got Lukaku in front of him. He's only got one pass to make. So, that kind of works in an advantage as well. But at the same time, if he picks up the ball in a more advanced position, he can shoot from anywhere.
Still remember devastating impact, and I didn't want to mention it with Ben when he was on earlier on, but when Manchester City beat Watford, what was he on? He was on the field for 38 minutes and he was named man of the match in the FA Cup final in 2019 as they dismantled Watford 6-0. What was it, scoring the third and creating the fourth? Denier under pressure with the beard and the dreadlocks, all the way it goes back to Mignolet, the former Liverpool goalkeeper, headed away by Henderson. Tielemans with a cushion header, Castagnet back to Mignolet. Luminous, bright green goalkeeping outfit away towards our right-hand side. Boyata forward, Witsel with the bushy hair. Tielemans, Carrasco's first touch, back to Denier. Belgium now just starting to creep a little bit further forward downfield, still 0-0, 9 minutes played. BBC Radio 5 live here at Wembley Stadium, where the Republic of Ireland 0, Wales 0 was a result in B4 of the Nations League. Later on, commentary of Scotland against Slovakia on 5 Live from 7:45. Now Carrasco's got behind the England defence. Alexander-Arnold's coming back at him. He's into the penalty area. Carrasco is still going. Carrasco plays the ball. Castagnet with a cut back, threatening Lukaku, can't get there. Meunier is forward over on that far side. Meunier will get there first. Takes the ball out of the penalty area, out towards the right touchline. Back to Witsel. Belgium playing all in red, playing from right to left. And Belgium all of a sudden now is starting to see a lot more of the ball, and they are the ones who are occupying themselves in the England half. And De Bruyne now is starting to roam, which is a worry.
Yeah, he's trying to find a way into the game, and him and Carrasco and Castagnet are switching around, linking up together, and that was nearly a devastating effect there, the run from Carrasco. He loves to drive in from the left onto his right foot. He does it for Atletico Madrid. He did it here then, did it to good effect, didn't quite come off, but there's the threat from out wide from Belgium.
Fascinating from a tactical point of view. Rob Green, you said earlier that the England wing-backs were pushed on. Now all of a sudden you've got Meunier, who's staying out high on that right-hand side, and that's the ball over the top to Meunier, who scored, of course, when they met in the third, fourth place playoff in St. Petersburg, and he's got onto the end of it and he's pulled the ball back, and this is maybe an opportunity, and it's been fired in, and Carrasco has scored right-footed into the bottom left-hand corner, and Belgium lead by 1-0. 10 minutes played, and superbly taken. 1-0 to Belgium.
I think it's disallowed, don't I? It's the referee's assistants waited till the end of play, I think, as is the new ruling.
Good spot, Rob Green, and of course there's no VAR either. There is no VAR. Roberto Martinez, that goal has been ruled out. We'll get an opportunity to see it. There is no VAR. Meunier was high up on that right-hand side.
It's fine margins, isn't it? It's a tight decision, but it looks to be just offside, and Robbie Martinez is completely baffled by that. He's questioning it, but they have to wait till the end of play now, and so it proved. But it was as you were talking about, Dano, as we were talking about the wing backs pushed on high, making a difference. The ball over the top, that's where the space is, and if you allow the players the time and the space on the ball, they're going to be able to pick those passes.
I get why the assistant referees have got to delay the flag if there's VAR, but if there's no VAR, what's the point in delaying the flag?
If he's offside, he's offside.
Yeah. If there's no VAR, there's nothing to... I know the reasons why they do it if there is VAR, because if he goes on to score, as is the case there, they can go back and refer it and then debate it. But if there's no VAR, why are we delaying the flag?
Seem to be doing the right things, supposedly.
So it's still 0-0. It was a well-taken goal from Carrasco. He'll be disappointed, but they're coming forward again with Castagnet. Again, this time it's cut back from the left-hand side. Been playing on the right, of course, for Leicester, but he can. Initially, he was signed from to replace Ben Chilwell, but he can operate on either flank, and he's certainly done well. It's the other downside of having no supporters inside the stadium. When you don't realise that the goal's been disallowed unless you summarise it tells you so. I'm busy making notes here. 10 minutes, 1-0.
I have some purposes.
Just some. You have more than some. 12 minutes played. they're on top at the minute now, isn't it? England started well, but it's just shading with Belgium at the minute.
Yeah, they found the feet, they're finding the spaces now, and the formations, because of the way they are, they have the spaces.
De Bruyne on the left-hand side, Alexander-Arnold, he got a foot into the challenge, and then he just shoved De Bruyne over as it's gone behind for a corner kick. He wasn't taking any nonsense there, the Liverpool player. And it's a corner that Carrasco wants to take, but De Bruyne is starting to wander, which is ominous. It's still 0-0. BBC Radio 5 Live. Corner kick on this near side to left. Carrasco will take it short, then gets the ball back from De Bruyne, does the little step over, flags up again on that far side by that watchful assistant referee. He raised it quicker this time.
Schoolboy. He's absolute schoolboy error. You play a short corner, you get it straight back. You've got Carrasco of Atletico Madrid, De Bruyne of Manchester City, and that's one that I'll see me boy do down the park pitches. But yeah, I just think you're looking at the shapes. We talked about it before, but both teams are playing 3 at the back and 3 up front, so they're matched up immediately, and you've got to have confidence on the ball. They've got to be able to want to play, because they're going to be under pressure wherever they are, but that in turn leaves such space at the back that it allows them to exploit it. It should be an open game.
Calvert-Lewin's done well. He's come back, he's chested it off, then the ball is out towards that far side, the left, back with now Declan Rice on the halfway line. Jordan Henderson left of the centre circle to Eric Dyer, back inside the England half at 0-0 with 14 minutes played. Trippier now will collect the ball, and Rashford's come deep. He's midway through the Belgian half. Rashford inside to Rice, sporting the number 7 shirt, and turns. Trippier has gone in field. It's Rashford who provides the width on the left. Mount's also over on that far side. Trippier's continued the run, stopped by Alderweireld, lifted up in the air by Meunier, and now Witsel to De Bruyne. Nice control. Lukaku and Witsel both go for the same ball. Lukaku now storming forward on the right-hand side, and he looks to go on the outside of Eric Dyer, who slides in, but he might well have caught Lukaku. They're appealing for a penalty. It's picked up by Jordan Pickford, and the referee says, oh, he's now given it after a delay. The German referee, after a delay, has now given a penalty for that sliding challenge, Dyer on Lukaku.
It must have been the assistant referee, your mate on the far side, Dano, who's given that, because the referee hadn't given it. They may have had a conversation, but Eric Dyer, he's gone down. I don't know whether it's a slide tackle or more of a stumble, but he goes in, he doesn't get any of the ball, and as soon as that happens, you make a slide tackle, not winning the ball. Unfortunate, but that's it's a penalty.
Well, Romelu Lukaku had a penalty saved by David De Gea in the FA Cup semi-final here in 2016. When he returned a couple of years later for Manchester United, he failed to score against either Tottenham or Chelsea. Now he's got a chance to find the back of the net. Belgium's record goal scorer, Romelu Lukaku, and he does score. Fires it left-footed into the bottom right-hand corner, and Pickford went the other way, and Belgium lead by a 0-0.
Yeah, it's a good penalty, confident penalty, stepped up, stroked it home, but we're talking about the space in behind the wing-backs, talking about the threat of the pace of the two teams. If you're going to go 1v1 in the centre halves up against the forwards, and there it was down the outside of Eric Dyer, down the left-hand side of this English defence, and yeah, it's Romelu Lukaku just being who he is. We've all seen it over the years, and if Eric Dyer hadn't played against him at centre half, he certainly has now, and he's fully experienced it.
So Eric Dyer conceding the penalty, and Romelu Lukaku converting it, and after 16 minutes, Belgium lead by a 0-0. Just going back to the offside, it was for the player in front of Pickford when the shot came in, as here is Lukaku. De Bruyne held up and challenged by Declan Rice. So England have to come from behind, and Belgium taking the lead 1-0. Fascinating tactically though, the contest.
It's been great so far, and then both teams have been really confident on the ball and really played, but you do realise that when you do go 1v1 at the back, you're going to get exposed, and that's what's happened a number of times with both teams. Then it's just not come off for either side. And also you're looking at the combinations, and Castagne and Carrasco now having a conversation down this left-hand side. They're just picking up positions which are so hard to come up against, and swapping and interchanging and dragging the centre-backs and the the wing backs around, and it's quite hard to keep on top of at all the times, and that's when you're going to get exposed.
This is League A Group 2 of the Nations League, where Belgium won both of their opening 2 games. England, of course, had picked up 4 points from the victory against Iceland and then the dull draw against Denmark in Copenhagen. 18 minutes played and they're behind. Dyer closed down by De Bruyne. Here comes the press from Belgium as Kyle Walker hits it up into the air towards Mason Mount, loses out towards Denier, and Denier's header runs off the body of Mason Mount and out for a Belgian throw on the left-hand side. So they've had a goal disallowed, then they've taken the penalty which they've scored. Latest score in League B1, which is Northern Ireland's group. And Erling Haaland, once again, he tormented Northern Ireland at Windsor Park. He scored. Norway 1, Romania 0 is a latest score. Carrasco, Tielemans. Return ball to Carrasco. No foul from Declan Rice, according to the German referee. And so also with England conceding that goal, it means that there will be no record 7th successive clean sheet, because for the 5th time in England's history, England had kept 6 successive clean sheets. As De Bruyne with a shot, low left-footed, saved by Jordan Pickford, but they'll not be able to extend that. So the record, or the joint record run, is over after Lukaku converting that penalty. 19 minutes played. Rodri.
Belgium press, they do it really, really well, and it's just that pressure on the pass, on the man, and it's Marcus Rashford this time giving it away, and he's got a player right up behind him. He's got another one covering him round. His pass wasn't ideal, falls straight to De Bruyne, and it's a good set of hands from Jordan Pickford. De Bruyne setting it onto his left foot, and as soon as he does that, you know that he wants to drag it in. De Bruyne loves to shoot back across. That's what he did. John Pickford read it slightly, was down early, but good hands. But again, when Belgium get that press right, it's really difficult to play against, because the quality on the pass isn't there.
BBC Radio 5 Live, where England are behind. Belgium lead by 1-0. De Bruyne on the halfway line, right-hand side. Diagonal ball towards Lukaku is presented to him from Dyer's touch. It goes straight to Lukaku. Lukaku on the right-hand side crosses the ball, headed away by Dyer. Picked up by Carrasco, drifts out right corner of the area. De Bruyne is on the overlap there. De Bruyne back towards Carrasco. Carrasco's now inside the penalty area. The angle is tight, comes back to Carrasco after the first shot was charged down. Played in first time by De Bruyne. On the stretch was Harry Maguire. Bitzel. Meunier with the effort, and it almost crept in. Just swung at that on the edge of the area, right-footed. Goes wide, but again, the flag was up on that far side.
It's just a snapshot, wasn't it? It was just a volley on the spin, and had Jordan Pickford worried. But again, Belgium, they're winning the ball, and they've got players in such areas. Carrasco's just on the roam, De Bruyne is on their own. They're so hard to pick up, and they've got this licence because they've got such a focal point of Romelu Lukaku that they can bounce off. And when it does break down, they're on this English side. They are pressing.
I don't know if this chair is trying to tell me something, but it doesn't half squeak.
It's not the chair.
1-0 to Belgium. Castagna on the near side. Infield, Tielemans on the halfway line. Belgium in control, Rob Green.
Yeah, they're getting England getting overrun. It just needs this 5-minute period now where it needs a voice on the pitch, Jordan Henderson, to say, right, okay, Mason Mount, Marcus Rashford, just come and sit tight, just come and sit in midfield rather than pressing too high, because as soon as Jordan Henderson steps out of there, Carrasco's in the space.
Carrasco. Saw him about 5 years ago as Henderson has done well. Oh, he was caught there by a challenge from De Bruyne, and he leaped in the air and he yelled out too, did the England captain. He's helped to his feet. German referee is just going to have a word with De Bruyne. No action was taken. There's Tripper on that far side. Back in then to Eric Dyer. England behind by a 0-0 against this Belgian side that, when they drew their second string effectively against the Ivory Coast in midweek, it ended a 12-match winning sequence stretching back to November 2018. They are ranked number 1 in the world for a very good reason. They don't tend to lose many games, just 2 in 45 since Roberto Martinez lost his first game in charge against Spain back in 2016. So this will be a test for England, and they've got to come from behind as we are midway through the first half. We had 2 balls on the pitch. So, to take you through to half-time, is our correspondent John Murray.
Thank you, Ian. We've had a change of formation up here in the commentary positions, haven't we, Rob, as well?
I'm confused.
Yes, I was on your left the other day, so I was sitting in the same seat as Ian for the game against Wales on Thursday night. I didn't notice the chair squeaking when I was sitting there. So 1-0 to Belgium. It's a promising start from England, Rob, but the Belgium have really taken control and been much the better team over the course of the last 10-15 minutes or so. But here come England with Alexander-Arnold chesting the ball down on the right-hand side, trying to cross, and he wins a corner off Castagna, the left wing-back as he is today, the relatively new signing for Leicester. So it's a corner for England, their first of the match.
That's a good run from Trent Alexander-Arnold. We're talking about the space in behind, but what England have got at the moment, the difference between the two teams is Alexander-Arnold, Mason Mount, Calvert-Lewin and Marcus Rashford flat up against the Belgian back line, whereas with Belgium they're finding the pockets, they're finding the space, and that's where they can play from.
England have got Rashford on the edge of the 6-yard box. This is going to be taken by Kieran Trippier. England have got 2 players near the penalty spot and then 2 players on the far side. Here's the delivery. It's gone a long way and it's bounced up past Eric Dyer. It's actually come out to Declan Rice, who gives it over there towards the left-hand side. And the ball's crossed into the back post, but Trippier, who was arriving, tried to set himself to nod it back across, got it all wrong, and it just headed it straight behind for a goal kick to the Belgians, who lead 1-0, Rob Green.
Yeah, 50p, Ed. He changed his mind just as the ball was coming to him. He wanted to help it back across the box, and he was trying to find a man in the penalty area to head it to as a pass, but then forgot about the ball, and then the ball arrived a bit too quick for him.
But Belgium, once they got into their stride, have been very fluent. They lead through Romelu Lukaku's penalty, conceded by Eric Dyer. Here's Carrasco on the left-hand side, plays it into Lukaku with his back to goal, lays it back, Tielemans with a shot. He dragged it. I think it took a deflection. Actually, the assistant on the far side, who's been heavily involved in the game, has flagged, and it's a free kick to England inside their own penalty area. But England, as I say, the Belgians have been very fluent. We've seen some great movement from them, and they've found a lot of space down the flanks, as you've been saying, Rob.
Yeah, and it's interesting now that Jordan Henderson, Declan Rice are getting dragged around, and then rather than looking for the players in the space, the Belgian players are realising Lukaku can get it into feet, and 2 balls and 1 in the penalty area, just roll it into his feet, and he's there and can lay it off, and it's really dangerous because he's so good at that, and the Belgian players know it, and they can make runs off him.
Nations League commentary, this is on BBC Radio 5 Live. We've already brought you Republic of Ireland 0, Wales 0 this afternoon. Tonight, both Scotland and Northern Ireland are in action. We've got commentary from inside Hampden for Scotland's game against Slovakia. We'll keep you across the Northern Ireland-Austria match as well. But for this England game, we've got not 1, but 2 England goalkeepers with us for this match. Rob Green's with us here at Wembley. Ben Foster is watching from afar. And I thought it was set up perfectly, Rob, when it was a penalty for Belgium. All this talk about Jordan Pickford. Everton past against Everton present, but Lukaku sent him the wrong way. Long ball over the top for England. Here's Rashford trying to reach it. Just moves away from Thomas Meunier. Rashford tries to play past him, but Meunier stands up strong, does well. And Toby Alderweireld is able to clear it away from the right-back position, winning his 101st cap tonight. The Tottenham man. No Jan Vertonghen on the other side of the Belgian defence. Instead, Jason Denayer is there. Lots of familiar names in this Belgian side. Of this starting lineup, 8 of them either play or have played for clubs in England, and indeed Denayer and Boyata both having played for Celtic, having been Manchester City youngsters. England in the white shirts heading the ball forward down the left-hand side. Mason Mount is after it, not being able to get into the game from over on the right side of the forward line. If you've not heard the England team news, Jack Grealish is on the bench for this match, as is Harry Kane. Dominic Calvert-Lewin making his competitive debut. Hasn't had a chance yet in this game, having scored on his debut in the friendly against Wales on Thursday night. Here at the back is Denayer with that absolute mane of hair tied up behind his head. Plays it infield towards Boyata, and now out to Alderweireld. The world-ranked number 1 side have got a very nice swagger about them in this game, leading through the Lukaku penalty. Romelu Lukaku scoring his 53rd goal for Belgium here at Wembley. which is a record by an absolute distance for Belgium. Eden Hazard is second on the list, 21 goals behind him. Hazard not involved, he's injured. He went back to Real Madrid, so did Courtois, and no Dries Mertens either. But Belgium doing very nicely without those three and others. And it is Belgium who've got it with Lukaku. 30 yards out, tries to lift the ball across the penalty area. Alexander-Arnold's underneath that for England, got his head to it, and it bounces out of play for a throw to Belgium, level with the edge of the England box. Carrasco receives it from Castagna, and then Castagna, who looks in the early stages to be a very decent signing for Leicester. Played mainly on the right for them. In fact, I think exclusively on the right so far for Leicester, but playing as the left wing back here, which he is well capable of doing. Ball on the halfway line with Alderweireld, who gets it back from Kevin De Bruyne. That was a sturdy challenge, wasn't it? De Bruyne on Jordan Henderson a little while back. I don't think that will have gone unnoticed by the England captain today.
I think he was fortunate he missed. If he made a contact, I think there would have been a card shown, but not sure what colour.
Yeah, the two captains for this match, Liverpool and Manchester City rivals. One of them the PFA Player of the Year, the other one the Football Writers Player of the Year, Jordan Henderson and Kevin De Bruyne. The rivalry is very obvious. Ball back to Boyata in central defence. 1-0 Belgium lead, almost half an hour played here at Wembley Stadium. Another busy sporting afternoon. Ball played over the top for the run of Meunier, but it will bounce through to Jordan Pickford. All in yellow, away to our left, in front of all of those England fans' banners that are displayed over the seats in the lower tier of Wembley Stadium. Of course, this match being played behind closed doors. Here's Harry Maguire making his return after he was dropped from the squad, as you'll be aware, last month. Alexander-Arnold, quite a heavy touch from him. Mount is... Actually, he's brought it back, the referee, for a foul on Alexander-Arnold, who was caught late there.
Yeah, got lucky there, England, and it's just, again, that press from Belgium. They're so sharp on it, they're so quick, and Robbie Martinez just down in the dugout, just next to it, so frustrated because he knew that they got it right. He knew that they got the press right. The pressure on the England side was right, and it's just a referee's decision, and it was a lenient one.
Roberto Martinez just a few yards from Gareth Southgate's right, as Mount strongly challenged again by Denier. Ball out of play for a throw into England. Alexander-Arnold takes it up towards Calvert-Lewin. Looked like a high foot by Boyata, but no contact made. The ball ran through, and it's returned to Simon Mignolet, the Belgian goalkeeper, in the absence of Thibaut Courtois. Mignolet actually captained Belgium the other night when they drew 1-1 with Ivory Coast. Harry Maguire gets the better of Lukaku over there on the far side. That's Manchester United past against Manchester United present. Now Kyle Walker returning to his World Cup role, winning his 50th cap for England tonight. A proud occasion for him, the 61st player to reach that milestone. Looks quite unfamiliar actually with the number 4 on his back. Kyle Walker now coming forward, playing it infield to Rashford, middle of the Belgian half. Rashford thought about the ball through the middle, plays it to Trippier on the left-hand side. Trippier then back to Rashford, 23 yards from goal. Rashford back centrally to Declan Rice. Right, a little touch to Walker, gives it back to the West Ham midfielder. And now Harry Maguire further back towards the halfway line. Rashford again to Trippier. And this is one of the issues with the right-footed Trippier playing as the left wing back onto his right foot. Here's the ball in from Henderson. A stretch by Calvert-Lewin, but in between two Belgian defenders, he can only glance it through for a goal kick, and Belgium continue to lead 1-0.
It's comfortable for Belgium when they haven't got the ball and they decide to sit, that they know that Trippier's going to come inside. And I think about it, and then I go back to playing for England against Spain, and we knew that the only weakness that they had in the team was the left back was right-footed, and we just waited for that moment to then get us to press, and that's the only let-up that you can take from it sometimes.
Ooh, heavy challenge by Declan Rice on Axel Witsel. That's a yellow card. That is a yellow card for that challenge from Declan Rice. Witsel's still down. He's actually just leaning forward now and holding his right ankle. But Declan Rice yellow carded, first of the match.
Just a little bit late and a little bit of frustration there. Not had much of a chance to play. Just going through the back and doesn't win it. Pleased that he's won the ball. He hasn't. It's a foul.
1-0 to Belgium. And things are going the way of Roberto Martinez's team. Clapping his hands down there in his thigh length belted black coat. Mignolet with the ball at his feet. Rashford arrives, so it's given out to Denayer, and then Belgium clear it up towards Romelu Lukaku on the halfway line. He's up against Eric Dyer again, and he uses Castagna, and Castagna plays it through for Carrasco, but Pickford is out quickly and is able to gather the ball before Carrasco can get there.
It's brilliant from Lukaku. Just that hold-up play. England had got the press right. They got him in their half, and it was a panicked ball up to Lukaku. But he's just such a figure of a man that he can hold off Eric Dyer and hold off another player and just allow the Belgian team to come out. And it's such a wonderful outball when you have that. You can have your De Bruynes, you can have your Tielemans, you can have your footballers in the team. But if you've got an outball like that, it changes everything in your side.
Romelu Lukaku, with the penalty that he scored today, that is 13 goals in his last 11 internationals for Belgium, with power to add. England playing it over the halfway line to Trippier. He's able to get a touch on it, back towards the far side. Jordan Henderson is there. Comes back to Maguire on the halfway line. So England 0, Belgium 1 is the score. The other match in this group, Iceland-Denmark, that's being played this evening. Belgium 6 points out of 6 so far. England have got 4 points from their 2 matches after they dropped points in Copenhagen. So if England are going to finish top of this group, which is what they want to do, and get through to the finals of this Nations League next year, I suspect they've probably got to take 4 points from the 2 matches against Belgium, the second of which is in Brussels next month. And currently they're 1-0 down, and Croatia are leading Sweden by 1 goal to 0 in one of the other afternoon kickoffs in the Nations League. Nikola Vlasic with the opening goal for Croatia. I mentioned the other sport going on this afternoon, the big names. Lewis Hamilton winning the Eiffel Grand Prix. So we'll have more on that later. He's equalled Michael Schumacher's record of 91 Grand Prix wins with that success. And Rafael Nadal winning the French Open for the 13th time in really good style. Straight sets against Novak Djokovic. Here's Dominic Calvert-Lewin down the left-hand side. The cross is blocked, and by Alderweireld out of play for an England corner from the left-hand side, Rob Green.
Yeah, better from England. Just remain patient on the ball and just got control to get a bit of a grip on the game and pick the pass. And they picked the pass down the channel to Calvert-Lewin, and it was a good ball and a good run and in the corner, but just to get the foothold back in the game, because Belgium have been cruising.
Yeah, they have. Leading by just the 1 goal to 0 though. Corner from the left flank this time. Again, Rashford at the near post. Mason Mount on the edge of the 6-yard box. Here's the delivery. Mignolet comes and is able to catch it just outside the 6-yard box, and Belgium are off on the counter-attack here. Alexander-Arnold is beaten by Carrasco. Carrasco taking the ball out towards the left-hand side. Kevin De Bruyne, and then Jordan Henderson comes in with a challenge, and it deflects back to Jordan Pickford.
Yeah, there's the threat. There's the danger. Mignolet wins the ball, looks up. It's 3v3, and they've wasted it there, Belgium. But if you're going to put a ball in like that, like Trippier, you've got to have a man on the keeper. Mignolet could just wander out to the 6 yards out, pluck it, and then spray the ball wherever he wanted, and they got away with one.
That's Rob Green. We'll hear more from Ben Foster at half-time with Steve Crossman during 5 Live Sport this afternoon, but England with the ball inside their own half. Jadon Sancho is among the substitutes, but Tammy Abraham is not. Of the rule of 6 breakers from earlier in the week. Ben Chilwell can't be involved because he's been unwell and had to be tested again. So we'll find out later if he's going to be able to be involved against Denmark. The third of these 3 matches in the space of 7 days at Wembley Stadium next Wednesday night. You'll hear that in full here on 5 Live as well. But England coming forward with Rashford. But Belgium are back behind the ball. Witsel forces Rashford to knock it back. Now it's with Mount. Mount back to Rashford. Rashford approaching the left corner of the box. Rashford into the area. 2-3 Belgians going with him, and Alderweireld got the touch, but it's only been half cleared, and it's bounced to Rashford in the box on the left-hand side, but Alderweireld recovered to deflect it behind for another corner for England from the left.
The beauty of having such high wing backs is that they're already up there. They're already pressing, and that's what Kieran Trippier was doing, and he just happened to be there, pressed, and Marcus Rashford picking up the ball again. But better from England last few minutes, just getting a foothold in the game. See, Trippier's not taking his corner now.
No, Alexander-Arnold instead, after Trippier took the previous two. One from the right, one from the left. This one's from the left, so the in-swinger from Alexander-Arnold. Lots of movement in the box, players peeling away. The ball comes in, and it's headed up by Maguire, high into the air, via a deflection, and it lands on the roof of the net, and it's another England corner. This time from the right.
These corners, and there's been set pieces. We saw against Wales as such a strong part of this England team, and you look at someone like Trent Alexander-Arnold, Kieran Trippier, they are masters of the set piece. To get it right is such a difficult skill, but when it does come off, rewards you in folds, doesn't it?
Harry Maguire very often the target for these set pieces. Calvert-Lewin though making a run. Here's the ball in from Trippier towards Maguire, and is there a tug in there?
Yeah, Henderson.
And Jordan Henderson has won a penalty for England. Who put in the challenge on him? And who's going to take it? It's Marcus Rashford who's been given the ball. So it will be Rashford from the penalty spot.
Yeah, it was Jordan Henderson was actually making a point of it and caught my eye before it happened, and the referee's in prime position. He can't really miss it. And
Meunier's tugged back. Henderson put his hand on his shoulder. I'm not sure whether the force was enough to make Jordan Henderson go down. However, the German referee spotted it, and England have a chance with a penalty of their own to level matters up here at Wembley. And it's Marcus Rashford, the day after receiving news that he would be getting an MBE. Rashford with a very straight run-up, moves out to his left, and then Marcus Rashford, little steps now, right-footed, high, into the corner of the net to equalise for England and make it 1-1. Mignolet sent the wrong way, and Marcus Rashford's week gets better and better. 1-1, Rashford scoring for England for the 11th time here at Wembley against the world-ranked #1 team.
No nerves there whatsoever. Does a little pause just before he steps up, looking at Mignolet, but then if you're going to smash it in the top corner, it doesn't matter about any pause or anything whatsoever, and that's what he does, just blazes it in. So two good penalties, but yeah, England just getting a foothold back in the game, and they just got that bit of pressure. We're talking about the quality of set pieces, and the pressure then told.
There wasn't a lot of pressure, was there, from Meunier on Jordan Henderson. I think it's possibly the first little tug, really, the fact that it carried on, and he then put an arm on his shoulder. But Belgium coming straight back into this. Lukaku, just after England have equalised. Now Carrasco, he's going to try a shot. That's blocked on the edge of the area by penalty winner Jordan Henderson, and the ball back to the halfway line. It was as Henderson broke away, Rob, wasn't it, from the group inside the penalty area, making the run into the 6-yard box. Meunier trying to keep with him, just put his hand on his shoulder, and down went Henderson.
It was the vision of the hand on the shoulder rather than the pressure itself, wasn't it? And it was patently obvious, because if I can see it from here, from something that's happened a couple of yards earlier, the referee's certainly going to be aware of it. And Jordan Henderson, thank you very much, I'm going to go down and win as a penalty.
England 1, Belgium 1. And England have managed to find a way back into the game. It was actually after a decent little spell, no more than that England had, that the penalty came. Series of corners, really, Rob, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't particularly great football. They just managed to keep the ball for 2-3 minutes and find a bit of spell. And that's, just being able to keep the ball was a bonus at that moment in time.
What a crossfield pass from De Bruyne from right away over on the far side to Carrasco on the near side. Chested it down. Alexander-Arnold was able to clear it away. Lukaku now 25 yards from goal. Again, turns. Maguire gives it to the right-hand side. Meunier. Carrasco's appeared on the right-hand side, angles the ball back. Might have been caught late there, but referee Stieler says no free kick to Belgium. And England break away, and that's a nice touch by Mount to control the ball, but then Denier is able to get a foot in, and Castagna actually will cross the halfway line. But he sees only England white ahead of him, so goes back into his own half. Another Nations League latest, Norway are leading Romania now by 2-0. This is Northern Ireland's group. Alexander Sørloth, who has done very well since leaving Crystal Palace, scores the second goal for Norway. Belgium coming forward. 1-1 the score here at Wembley on 5 Live, and England winning it back. And England approaching the halfway line with Kyle Walker. Walker goes back behind him to Jordan Henderson, who rolls it over the halfway line to Mason Mount. Mason Mount, who's come on as a substitute in England's last couple of games and impressed actually as well in those matches, and therefore is in the starting lineup for this one with Jack Grealish on the bench. I suspect, Rob, we'll see Jack Grealish later, all things being well. I think there must be every chance of that.
You'd hope so. I think it was a predetermined one, wasn't it, with Mason Mount, that they knew he was going to play, he was going to start today. But he looked sharp when he came on, as you're saying, against Wales, to be fair, against the tiring Welsh side.
Ball bounces back at the English defence. Lukaku just outside the box. Now it's broken into the penalty area on the right side, and the shot from Carrasco. He was being put under pressure there, and he dragged it well wide of the far post. It was Trippier who got back in there, perhaps just to do enough to put him off balance.
You put your money on him to score there. It was a great opportunity. Just a tackle from Declan Rice that's put him through, just lunging back, and because it's come from him, he can't be offside. He's in on goal, and you're looking at Jordan Pickford, just him to beat, 6-7 yards out, dragged it horribly wide. And as you say, just that little bit of pressure from Trippier makes a difference, because I've seen him play before a few times for Atletico Madrid. He loves to shoot, and you'd have thought, you put your house on him to strike it well there, and he didn't.
Well, it was not unlike the opportunity that he had, that he buried in the back of the net when it was ruled offside early on in the match. And I think it was correct, incidentally, that the offside was given. I think it was Castagna who ran right across the front of Jordan Pickford just as Carrasco hit the shot. Here's Rashford, England's goal scorer, scoring the equaliser just a few minutes ago. Matt Rashford giving it back to Alexander-Arnold, but De Bruyne was in there and took the ball away from the England right wing back as he is. And then Denaya chips it away. Eric Dyer's got in ahead of Romelu Lukaku on the halfway line this time. Now Harry Maguire starts one of his runs forward. Maguire then to Trippier, and England go back into their own half. So 1-1 the score. Mention the fact Jadon Sancho is on the substitutes bench. This big squad that England have got for these 3 matches. So Tammy Abraham and Ben Chilwell are not in the 23 at all, and the other players who are not involved at all, i.e. not on the bench, as Declan Rice has rather carelessly given the ball away there to Carrasco, and Lukaku is running forward with it. De Bruyne making a run. De Bruyne will look and find Meunier on the far side. Back to Kevin De Bruyne, captain in the absence of Hazard. Witsel now to the right, now to De Bruyne again, inside the penalty area on the right-hand side, tried to pull it back for Carrasco, but the covering challenge was there to clear it away for England to the halfway line. We're in the 45th minute. We'll see the 4th official. Here he is, just heading forward with that electronic board, almost as if it's a black briefcase, and he's heading off over Westminster Bridge. And he's just going to show us very shortly how many minutes of added time there'll be at the end of this first half, as Trippier clears the ball away, but that took a deflection, but the ball into the penalty area is harmless for England, and Pickford has got it. Yeah, the other players not involved at all: Harry Winks, Joe Gomez, Michael Keane, and 2 of the debutants from the other evening, Saka and Barnes. They are not on the bench. I suspect they will be involved, you would think, most of them, if not all, against Denmark on Wednesday. So 1 minute of added time at the end of this first half. England might well count themselves a little fortunate to be on level terms. Ball played over the top, Rashford the intended target. Castagna was able to come across and head it down, and then the ball is turned away for England. Trippier loses out to Witsel, and so Belgium perhaps one more attack in this first half, but that's cut out by Alexander-Arnold, and the ball at the back with Eric Dyer, who conceded the England penalty, sliding in on Lukaku as the 2 of them raced into the penalty area. I thought he was slightly unfortunate, Rob, as he dived in. His studs actually got caught in the ground. Therefore, he didn't get to the ball, and he caught the man instead.
It just didn't look right, did it? It's something unnatural about it, and you're right, it was the studs in the ground, and then obviously not making contact with the ball, going down, and Romelu Lukaku's always going to go down in that situation, so it was touch, unfortunate.
Yeah, thought that was a clearer penalties than England's was, but there's the half-time whistle, and it is all square. At the break, 2 penalties. Romelu Lukaku for Belgium, Marcus Rashford for England. I think Belgium have probably had the better of it, Rob.
Yes, and I just think the combinations of play, the patterns that they get, the link-ups, the players taking up the clever positions, but when they go forward into pockets of 2s and 3s, and they can link up together, whereas England, at times, they're hitting it forward, they're looking for Marcus Rashford in behind, and he gets the ball, and he's on his own. Or Mason Mount picks up the ball, he's got 2 players around him. So if they can find them combinations, them link-ups, I think they'll get a better foothold in the game.
So half-time here at Wembley Stadium, with the players walking off together to the dressing rooms. England 1, Belgium 1 in this Nations League group match.
And of course, we'll be back with John, Ian and Rob for second half commentary. We still have Ben Foster with us as well. Thoughts, Ben?
Not particularly great from England at the minute. I think Romelu Lukaku's getting way too much of the ball. He's really dragging that Belgian team up. He's getting balls into his chest, into his feet, and in turn that makes the Belgian players know it's going to happen, and they're just getting up the pitch and they're dominating from that, really. You're going to have to ask the England centre-backs to start stepping in front of Lukaku to stop that ball getting into him in the first place. I think set pieces probably look our likeliest way of scoring at the minute. You saw the penalty that we got from the set piece, and we've had a few other corners, but other than that, really haven't offered anything at all.
I'm guessing you do the same thing as I do whenever you are listening to a penalty or watching a penalty. You imagine what way you would go. You're probably slightly better at it than me. Did you save either of those penalties?
No, you're definitely not saving Rashford's penalty. No chance on this earth. No way on this earth. No, same with Jordan though. You pick away. You try and pick up as many cues, as many towels as you possibly can from the player that's taking the penalty. But Romelu Lukaku, he's a goal scoring machine. He might not have fitted in at Man United a couple of years back, but his record speaks for itself.
Grealish time or not?
I think so. We don't really offer any kind of threat with the ball in behind. There's no runs. I think Rashford's looked okay at times. He's gotten the ball in the 18-yard box a few times. He looks lively. He looks like he might create something, but not much from Mason Mount and Calvert-Lewin. He's very willing. He's a good lad. You can tell he works his socks off, but he's been devoid of any service so far.
The way that you're describing this England team, you called it conservative beforehand. You just said that our best chance of scoring England is going to be from set pieces. We were hearing from Gareth Southgate talking about how far England have come since the World Cup, but you could almost be describing England's team at the World Cup.
Yeah, like you say, it's almost like getting a set piece at the minute is the end goal. It looks like we know that we've got a very good chance. We've got some very big lads, a lot of aerial threat. Harry Maguire is always going to be that kind of guy, and I think Gareth Southgate has got a soft spot for Harry Maguire for that exact reason. And it's not a great place to be, really, is it? You want an England team to be attacking and free flowing, not relying on set pieces. That's not what it's about.
Ben, thank you very much for the time being. We'll have Ben Foster back with us at full time. So England 1, Belgium 1 at half-time at Wembley Stadium in the Nations League. We've already had Republic of Ireland 0, Wales 0, and we've got Scotland, Slovakia to come as well. That one kicks off at 7:45. Already today, Rafael Nadal has won his 13th French Open title, beating Novak Djokovic in straight sets. Here he is.
Yeah, a very tough year, but win here means everything to me, So it's not the moment. Honestly, no. For me, I don't think today about the 20th of equal Roger on this great number. For me today is just a Roland Garros victory. That Roland Garros means everything to me. I spent here the most important moments, or most of the most important moments in my tennis career, no doubt about that. Just can say thank you very, very much, everybody here, all the organization, all the crowd. For me, just play here is a true inspiration, and the love story that I have with this city and with this court is unforgettable, and just with merci beaucoup à tout le monde, merci.
Oh, lovely speech and a bit of French at the end as well. Our correspondent Russell Fuller, of course, was watching in Paris. That was fascinating, that, Russell, that he put 13 in France ahead of equalling Federer with 20 overall.
Yeah, for the moment, certainly. I think he wants to enjoy winning this particular event. Roger Federer has already been in touch on social media with Rafael Nadal, congratulating him and saying what an enormous amount of time he has for him as a player and as a person, and hoping they can both add to their tally of Grand Slam titles in 2021. Novak Djokovic has just been into the news conference room as well, and he said that he was completely overplayed, was his word, by the better player on the court. He described Nadal as phenomenal, saying he played a perfect match, especially in the first couple of sets, and it was reminiscent of what I thought was Nadal's greatest performance thus far at Roland Garros in 2008, when he allowed Roger Federer just 4 games. It was simply awesome to drop 2 games in the opening 2 sets against around in just 7 months' time in May of next year, and the Grand Slam bandwagon, we hope, will roll on to Melbourne in January, where, just perhaps, Rafa Nadal, who I think feels the Australian Open owes him a win or 2, he's had a bit of bad luck there with injuries over the years, could even move ahead of Roger Federer in the all-time list.
Russell, thank you very much. Coming up next on 5 Live Sport, we'll be speaking to our reporter Simon Stone and Pat Nevin as well. He's your summariser for Scotland-Slovakia later, but we're going to get more into the story about the proposed shake-up, and that is an understatement, of the Premier League, which was revealed in the Daily Telegraph this afternoon. So we'll have much more on that, including reaction even since we discussed the story at 4 o'clock from the likes of the EFL Chief Executive Rick Parry, who's one of the people who've been in support of the move of Liverpool and Manchester United, backed by some of the other top clubs, to have a smaller Premier League, give them more power, but at the same time give a lot more money, hundreds of millions of pounds more money to the EFL. Loads of your messages to 85058 at 5 Live Sport. We'll read more of them as well, and then we'll be back at Wembley for second half commentary of England-Belgium. Let's get the news. Here's Nick Hatfield.
On digital, BBC Sounds, smart speaker and online.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Boris Johnson is holding talks with his cabinet about plans for more coronavirus restrictions in England ahead of an expected announcement tomorrow. Ministers insist a localised approach is needed after criticism from political leaders in the north that they haven't been consulted. A top government advisor is warning the country is at tipping point with infection rates at a similar level to March when the lockdown kicked in. England's Deputy Chief Medical Officer Professor Jonathan Van Tam insists cases can be contained by following guidelines. Here's Dr. Chris Smith from 5 Live Science.
He realises that people are going to really struggle, not just with the oncoming winter, the challenges that brings, but the challenges of 6 months of having done this already and no obvious endpoint in sight this time. I do agree with him, and I do think he's right to kind of raise awareness, but there's a positive note in there too, isn't there, with him saying we are in a much better shape and a position than we were back in March, April.
Donald Trump says he seems to be immune from COVID-19. The president's physician claims he's now well enough to come out of self-isolation after developing symptoms 10 days ago. An MP who got on a train from London to Glasgow despite having coronavirus insists it was out of character. Margaret Ferrier, who's been suspended by the SNP, told the Scottish Sun she won't stand down. And the closure of pubs and restaurants in Scotland's Central Belt could be extended if it's necessary. The Hospitality Minister Fergus Ewing says there's no guarantee they'll reopen in 2 weeks' time.
This is 5 Live Sport
with Steve Crossman.
England won, Belgium won, penalties for Romelu Lukaku and Marcus Rashford at Wembley Stadium. Second half commentary to come. First, let's get more on that big story in the Daily Telegraph today. Manchester United and Liverpool have suggested, with the backing of EFL Chief Executive Rick Parry, well, they've suggested a lot of things. The Premier League should be reduced to 18 teams. There should be a set of 9 clubs given special status. The League Cup could be scrapped, as could the Community Shield. But £250 million would go to EFL clubs, many of whom, of course, are struggling to survive. Let's bring in our football reporter, Simon Stone. Rick Parry's just been speaking, Simon.
He has, yes. Half an hour he did, and then he's done some broadcast interviews as well, one of them with the BBC sports editor, Dan Rome. But as you would imagine, Rick Parry is praising Liverpool and Manchester United. He's saying that it's 2 of our great clubs showing leadership and exercising responsibility, and basically saying they've come up with a plan that the Premier League has, as a body, failed to do, despite all the kind of issues over coronavirus, which have been obvious for many, many months now. He says Manchester United and Liverpool genuinely care about the pyramid. There are some who will disagree with that, clearly.
And there are clearly bodies that will now be pitted against each other, not least the EFL, who under Rick Parry are in favour of it, and the Premier League, who are clearly not.
Well, that's right. And the interesting thing is that Rick Parry said he couldn't speak on behalf of the Premier League or the Premier League clubs, but he was under the impression that Chelsea had also been involved in these talks. But he was under the impression that the other 14 clubs, i.e. the non-Big Six, didn't know anything about it. As you point out, the Premier League are clearly against it. The government are clearly against it. But then Rick Parry was asked about that, and he said he couldn't see why the government would be against it, because everything in it is what the government are wanting from football. The fans are against it as well. So I think he admitted it was going to be a hard sell, but I don't think he thought that the kind of reaction would be as vitriolic, quite as immediate as it has been.
Let's bring Pat Nevin into the conversation, who's at Hampden Park for us tonight for Scotland-Slovakia. I don't know if it's afternoon or evening, Pat. Hello.
It's in the middle of it, both of them. We'll go for either.
Fine. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I'm desperate not to jump in two-footed, as it were, in this one. Usually you should give yourself a little bit of time to consider it. I mean, there are positives right at the top. And first of all, Rick Parry generally has been a force for good in football, so I'll sit and listen to him first. And these are extreme times we're in. The EFL clubs need saved, so does the EFL. The 25% that was suggested of all Premier League money that would go to them, to the EFL clubs, that may well save the future of the EFL and a lot of the EFL clubs. There's the positives. The negatives, there's a hell of a lot of them out there. I mean, it's close to a monopoly already. Sounds hell of a like a power grab to me, and I think it will do to a lot of football fans out there. It's tough enough to get into the Premier League, but when you hear phrases like granted special status, I mean, come on. I mean, really, that is just so anti any competitive ideology that we have ever had in football. It's unthinkable. So, I mean, we're just hearing this a lot of it second-hand. But it is concerning and worrying. But we are in concerning and worrying times. I can see why a lot of people will be very, very upset about it. They would feel as if the Premier League should be doing the right thing and getting these monies down the leagues without wanting to grab a load of power with it as well, and making sure they get further away. In the midst of all this, very importantly, you want less games because there's too many games for the players at the moment. There is no doubt about that. So if it was an argument for 20 to 18, so it was less games, you could take that in the chin to some degree. But do you think that's the case? Or do you think we're talking European Super League now, where more games get added in? So, there's a lot of politicking going on here, and people are understandably very sceptical.
Yeah, and we're getting a lot of text to that effect as well. People who aren't happy with it, one or two saying, let them have it if it means my club lower down the EFL survives. You're not talking European Super League, you're on Nations League duty, Pat.
I am, which doesn't seem quite so sexy, let's be honest about it, a lot of the time. But I'm looking forward to this one tonight. Scotland are on a decent little run, even though not necessarily playing against the very top teams in Europe at the moment. But, after scraping through against Israel, after penalties the other night, we've got a game tonight against a team in Slovakia that Scotland are quite capable of beating. But there will be a lot of changes, I suspect, for Scotland tonight. It's an important competition, more than anything else, to keep the confidence up and maybe try out one or two new players. Kind of looking forward to it. I just hope it's one thing slightly better than this one tonight. The first shot the other night against Israel was after 72 minutes. Please make it better than that.
As long as it's better than Republic of Ireland, Wales, I'll be happy. Pat, thank you very much. And Simon, thank you. Pat Nevin and Simon Stone. Pat will be back with us for Scotland, Slovakia live. Kicks off at 7:45. It was Republic of Ireland 0, Wales 0 earlier, and it was pretty forgettable. But half-time at Wembley, England won, Belgium won, thanks to a pair of penalties. Your commentary team are Rob Green, John Murray and Ian Dennis.
And we're still awaiting for the arrival of the two teams here at Wembley Stadium. So we're not in a position just as yet to see if there's been any alterations, but the referee is standing with either of his legs. They're straddled over the halfway line, looking down the tunnel, looking for some activity. But at the minute, nobody is forthcoming. So the referee, here they come. Jordan Henderson leading out England for the white shirts and the navy shorts. So you've got Trippier, Maguire, Alexander-Arnold, Rashford, Rice, Mount, Dyer, Walker, Calvert-Lewin and Pickford. So there are no changes for England at the start of the second half. And then following on behind, we've got Mignolet for Belgium with De Bruyne, Alderweireld, and there doesn't appear to be any changes either. So they'll have Mignolet in goal, a back three of Alderweireld, Denayer, Boyata, Meunier and Castagnet the wing backs, Tielemans and Witsel in the centre, and the front three of Carrasco, Lukaku and De Bruyne. England, Pickford in goal, Kyle Walker on his 50th cap, Eric Dyer and Harry Maguire, the other of the three-man defence for England. Alexander-Arnold, the right wing-back, Trippier left wing-back, Rice and Henderson, who's captaining England in the absence of Harry Kane, who's on the bench in the centre of midfield, and then a front three of Mason Mount, Calvert-Lewin and Marcus Rashford, who scored that equalising penalty. So in this second half, the white shirts of England against Belgium in the all-red, and our referee is Tobias Stieler. Is there anything you'd like to see more from England in the second half, Rob Green?
Yeah, combinations, and it's the combinations of play. They got in good positions, they got good foothold in the game, but just going forward, the wide men are just getting the wing backs are just getting isolated a little bit too much. So maybe Mason Mount coming out and then just having that purpose with the combinations, and they'll get the ball higher up the pitch with better quality.
That's the voice of the former England goalkeeper Rob Green, also of course with spells Norwich City, West Ham and Queen's Park Rangers, to name but a few. And England's, what was it, the World Cup in 2010 under Fabio Capello, that retreat in Rustenburg for Rob as England. So all of his experience from playing at a major tournament, now working with us here on BBC Radio 5 Live, as it's 1-1. And since the last World Cup, England, where of course they played Belgium a couple of times, if you include those two games, the three encounters against Croatia and other opposition against the top nations, Spain, Holland and tucked in the left wing back as England play from right to left and clears. And here is Trippier laying it off to Harry Maguire just outside the penalty area, now with Eric Dyer. Across to Kyle Walker on that far side, the right, short forward ball. Alexander-Arnold will give it back to Walker. Carrasco puts pressure. Who's then being held there was Walker, but he manages to wriggle free, and now he comes forward. And then Walker's ball inside is going to go astray. And just stepping forward onto this is Alderweireld, the Tottenham defender, along the ground. Cut out, though, by Jordan Henderson. Henderson now rolls it out to Trippier. Rashford's ahead of him on this near side to left, and he's over the halfway line. And Henderson's continued the run. Then he stopped running, and now he decides to chase after it once more, but it's tidied up by Alderweireld. Back to Mignolet, who almost got caught out because of the pressing there of Rashford, but he did release it, helped out by Boyata. And Alderweireld will go all the way back to Mignolet once more, and across the face of his own goal it goes to Denayer. The dreadlocks on that far side, and keeping the ball very, very well despite the pressure from England, Belgium.
Yeah, and just go back to your point about playing the games against the top teams, and Belgium are certainly one of those. They proved it over the past few years. But you know, England, and part of this nation, the format does put you in the position to play against them. And talking about to the players about the World Cup, about getting against Croatia and taking the lead, and all of a sudden the change in mentality, the change of focus that they felt, rather than something they thought, blimey, we could actually do this, we could do something. And I think coming up against these teams time and time again, you actually become accustomed to it, and when you do go in the lead and you do win, that's when you come through and feel at home.
Flick header from Calvert-Lewin. Rashford's onto it. Rashford into the penalty area. Rashford onto his right foot, pulls it back. Calvert-Lewin's first time shot from outside the D, and he's got too much underneath that, and it's lifted well off target. A wayward shot from Calvert-Lewin from what was a promising attack, again from Calvert-Lewin, just with a flick on in the air.
Yeah, it's a space in behind again. Calvert-Lewin, he showed us on Thursday, and was shown us for Everton for a number of weeks and over the last 18 months, that he can do that. He can help it on into the space, and Rashford was away, and yeah, just got delayed in himself. The ball got stuck under his feet, then the pass across to Calvert-Lewin, it all went a bit awry, but that's the space, that's where they can play, that's where you can hurt Belgium.
Meunier pushed up on this near side, the right wing back, the Borussia Dortmund player, to Pickford, all in yellow. Pickford not fazed by the presence of Meunier. He just eventually just dropped his shoulder and cleared long. They were looking for a free kick to the German referee for a foul on Rashford, but Tobias Stieler is not going to give them that, and instead it goes out for a throw that Thomas Meunier, who's only just recovering after that run down the right-hand side, will have to come and take on this near side following his move from Paris Saint-Germain to Germany in June. So 1-1, BBC Radio 5 Live, as Declan Rice and Henderson, ball played back. Eric Dyer, left-footed ball, just dropping off into a little bit of space was Calvert-Lewin. Rashford on the left-hand side to Trippier. Long ball looking for the run of Mason Mount. Alderweireld up for Belgium, laid off by De Bruyne just outside the centre circle. Central position, midway through his own half, for Tielemans to trot forward, the Leicester City player, and out it goes to that far side. And it's Castagnet, his fellow Fox, and then back once more in Belgium with a nice gentle pace to the game at 1-1. Just talking about the Nations League, and of course with Holland, of course Virgil van Dijk starring in that Holland side when they played in Guimarães, and he was actually a guest of Eddie Hearn in the podcast No Passion, No Point, that you'll be able to still to download and listen to, as Calvert-Lewin goes on the outside of Boyata and puts him to the deck. Calvert-Lewin then to Jordan Henderson. Staying out on the left-hand side is Calvert-Lewin. Rolls it back to Trippier. Forward ball. Rashford then to Trippier midway through the Belgian half. Passing the ball very, very quickly, England, without really going anywhere between the three players. Rashford forces Henderson a little bit further back. Every outfield player now is in the Belgian half, as it's now up towards Walker. Walker for the return ball. Now he's bombed forward, as it's now with Declan Rice just outside the centre circle. Goes square. England keeping the ball well. Henderson to Rashford, providing the width on the near side. Back to Henderson again. Maguire. De Bruyne chases, but a triangular passing movement from the England players manages to bypass the Belgian captain. Henderson once more, diagonal ball forward, Trippier. In the central area, the left wing back, Rice, cross to Walker, just had to accelerate a little, and as a result of that has given the ball away, and then Carrasco plays it back. Castagnet had bombed forward to try and exploit the gap left by Walker. Instead they go through the middle, and Rice will help win it back for England in the centre circle against De Bruyne. Now it's with Trippier, he's over the halfway line. Declan Rice, the West Ham player, almost at a standstill, to Trippier, out to Rashford, closed down by Meunier, goes in field, forward ball from Maguire to Declan Rice. And England having to be patient, as we've been playing for 7 minutes in the second half for this Nations League game, where Belgium taking the lead, England pegging them back. Both goals from the penalty spot, Lukaku and Rashford. High ball into the penalty area. Trippier at the far post heads it. Calvert-Lewin goes into a challenge, looking for a penalty. Fired back in by Alexander-Arnold, and it goes behind for a corner kick as it hits the side netting. Rob Green.
Yeah, good passage of play from England. He was confident on the ball. It slowed down at times, but then when they did decide to go forward, they went forward with pace, found Trippier, and rather than in the first half where he headed it off onto the roof of the net, he's found a teammate, and it didn't really come off as a move as such, but it's something that, again, just keeping that ball, getting a foothold in the game, and it's really slowed down now. So if you can keep the ball and you control this game, then the way that the games go without the crowds, you can really control it.
So it's going to be a corner kick for England on that far side, the right. It comes across now. Witsel making the challenge on Eric Walker. Maguire has stayed forward. Little flick didn't quite come off for Jordan Henderson. Carrasco just trying to roll away from Trippier, but there was a foul there from the Atletico Madrid defender on his fellow teammate back in Spain, and as a result that will be a free kick, and still need to get some WD-40 for the chair.
It was a good foul from Trippier, because I don't think he knew, but De Bruyne had spun and made a run, and Carrasco knew that he was going, and Declan Rice was tracking him again as he was in the first half, and I'm not sure he fancied it so much this time, so it was a good foul in the end.
De Bruyne has given the ball away to Calvert-Lewin. Now Rashford in the centre circle on the halfway line. Space on the far side, the right for Kyle Walker, who now comes forward. He's playing on the right of the three-man defence, and Walker midway through the Belgian half. And now played forward, Henderson. The return ball from Rashford. That's better. Nice link-up play from England. And then Mason Mount. Does the last touch come off Mount? No. A corner kick is awarded. And again, encouraging from England.
Yeah, better. We talked about the combinations, and this time Marcus Rashford had come across onto the right channel, and it's him, Jordan Henderson, Mason Mount, and you need to get those 2-3 runs synchronised, because everyone's so organised in international football. One guy making a run doesn't normally do it. It's going to be covered. You need that combination. You need to pull people about.
That's the voice of Rob Green on BBC Radio 5 Live. England 1, Belgium 1. Corner kick on the right-hand side. And Trippier to take it, crowded penalty area. They were appealing for handball, I think, but the referee says not, goes behind for a goal kick. When I mentioned that podcast, No Passion, No Point for Eddie Hearn, you can either listen to it on a podcast under the Euro Leagues podcast, which you can download as the usual place, but I really enjoyed Paul Elliott, who's the chair of the FA Inclusion Advisory Board, in conversation with Steve Crossman during the week. You're able to listen to that through BBC Sounds app as well. If you can download the BBC Sounds app, you select BBC 5 Live, and if you just hit the stations and schedules section and then scroll back to Tuesday the 6th, it was on about 7:30 as the Euro Leagues, but talking about his career for half an hour, it was a really, really engaging listen with Paul Elliott and Steve Crossman. So that's available through BBC Sounds as well. As here we are at Wembley, Tielemans searching ball towards Carrasco, and just touched back by Walker and cleared long by Pickford, headed back by Denier. At the minute, in the second half, Rob Green, there's nothing between the two sides.
No, it's a real game of chess. It's slowed down so much now that any movement, injection of pace, and all of a sudden everybody responds, but there's long periods of inactivity by a large portion of the teams.
You know, just going back to the penalty, and it was probably a soft penalty because Henderson did seem to make quite a lot of it, but is that, when in the media we've talked about England's failings at major tournaments, we say we need to be a little bit more streetwise. Is that an element of it, do you think, where Jordan Henderson makes the most of the opportunity?
Yeah, and naivety from Moinier's point of view as well.
Hold on, here's Carrasco for Belgium. And all red playing from left to right. Tielemans, they're just outside the England penalty area now at 1-1. Carrasco left corner of the box. Kevin De Bruyne plays it forward, looking for Castagnet, who touches the ball and comes across, but Walker snuffs out the danger and clears, and in fact it brushed the legs of Castagnet. It will be an England throw on that far side. One apiece, Rob.
Yeah, beauty of having three centre-halves there. That you immediately, your right-sided centre-half is a little bit further over than in a four, and when Trent Alexander-Arnold gets beat, Kyle Walker's there in a flash of a bit of cover.
Here is Maguire, who's left of the three for England in the white shirts, navy shorts, playing from right to left. 57 minutes played at 1-1. BBC Radio 5 Live. Also available on BBC Sounds as Trippier to Maguire. Pace has certainly slowed. Maguire back to Dyer. Cross, Trippier controls it with his knees, plays it forward to Calvert-Lewin, tries to roll away from Boyata, hits a diagonal ball. Mason Mount and Alexander-Arnold go in search of it. Castagnet, though, is back there to clear. Winning the ball back was Kyle Walker once again on his 50th cap. Made his debut against Spain in November 2011. And back in that is Meunier now, the right wing back just outside the centre circle. Back by it. Rice came back to cover and slid in. Lukaku might have just hurt the base of his back there, and Witzel's hobbling as well, so we've got two Belgian players who are both in a fair bit of pain.
Yeah, a strong challenge by Declan Rice, saw his opportunity, went in, sliding tackle, just caught Lukaku. I think he's okay, but a few players, and with the pace dropping a bit as well, I think the players are starting to feel it a bit, and when it does slow down without the fans, it just feels so much like a training ground game.
Well, Lukaku's he's just checking his back. He's just lifted up his shirt, just lifted down the top of his shorts just to see what it is. And Witzel looks like he's going to be able to continue as well. And the ball sportingly is being knocked back by Maguire all the way to the Belgian goalkeeper at 1-1. And we've been playing now for nearly an hour. Here is Denier. broadcast.
Yeah, it's been a tough one. And the players now are accepting the fact that they're not going to press all the time, and they're allowing the opposition up until a certain point to come into their half or wherever it might be.
And now it's picking up because De Bruyne is coming forward, and De Bruyne to the edge of the area. De Bruyne still going, and there was Declan Rice once again just to break up the play and win the ball back for England inside his own penalty area. Rashford turns into Alderweireld, the back pass to Mignolet. Mignolet with his anticipation, he was almost midway through the Belgian half. It was a good job too, because he had to get there to clear it away as it's fed through. Walker shrugs off Boyata. Rashford waits, left-hand side. Mount's made the run in. Creates a bit of space, out towards Henderson, hits it first time, might come back to Henderson, lifts it forward, Calvert-Lewin. Well, it was down into the ground, it lacked the power, and it was a comfortable save for Mignolet.
It's unfortunate, Calvert-Lewin just wanting to get his one-touch finish away, doesn't quite get it right. He's been encouraged by Ancelotti to do that. He's reaped the rewards in recent weeks, scoring so many goals, just doesn't quite get it right. But previously, brilliant defending by Kyle Walker. Eric Dyer was playing Lukaku and De Bruyne onside, but it was Kyle Walker who used his pace, his reading of the game, to get across and make a vital interception because they were both in.
This is the second of three commentaries on 5 Live of the Nations League today. We've still got Scotland and Slovakia to come at 7:45. Earlier we brought you Republic of Ireland 0, Wales 0, which didn't sound the best, as Wales extended their lead at the top of that Group B4 table, 7 points from 3. However, Finland have just taken the lead at home to Bulgaria, and Finland then would move to within a point of Ryan Giggs' side after that goalless draw in Dublin. It's 1-1 here, and this is League A, Group 2. And England, who certainly enjoyed their time in Guimarães as far as the experience, despite not necessarily reaching the final, all part of the learning curve and all that, ahead of the Euros, are looking to try and get back to the final stages of the second running of the competition of the Nations League, as Jordan Pickford just falls to his knees after slamming the ball high and downfield, and it drifts out of play for a throw. His record competitively at home is very, very good since 2012. They've won 19 of their 20 competitive home matches. That slender defeat to Spain is the only setback. That was in September 2018, but they recovered well, of course, to win away in Seville and beat Croatia for what was a terrific atmosphere here inside Wembley Stadium that afternoon. 1-1, Meunier coming forward, linking up with Lukaku. Cleared again by Walker. Walker's made some telling interventions at times in this game, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's just reading the situation so well. He realises where Lukaku is. Meunier, he wants to shoot. He just can't get the ball onto his right foot, so he lays it back to Lukaku. Kyle Walker's read it again, got a vital interception, but that's 3 times now in this half where, just with his experience, with his knowledge and his attribute of his outstanding pace, he sets off. He's in the right place at the right time, senses the danger.
Harry Kane's coming on. I think we might be seeing Calvin Phillips as well. Harry Kane, who hasn't trained properly during the week due to muscle fatigue, but I wonder if he'll get the captain's armband off Jordan Henderson, and Calvin Phillips as well. Just wonder if that actually might be for Henderson in the centre of midfield, because he's not had many match time really for Liverpool of late, but we'll see when the double change is being made. So the Leeds United player coming on, and Harry Kane also getting ready, as here is Rashford. One apiece. BBC Radio 5 Live. Rashford. Out it goes towards the far side. Alexander-Arnold with a cross. Trippier with a downward header. Here is Mason Mount. Left-hand side of the penalty area. Goes for the curler. Takes deflection. Loops it. And England have come from behind and lead now Belgium by 2-1. The deflection took it over Mignolet. England won't care about that, with Mason Mount probably looking to try and take the credit for what may well be his first goal at Wembley if it is. It's England 2, Belgium 1.
It's the 2 wing-backs linking up. We talked about Kieran Trippier's heading before making the decision, and he makes a simple choice, and it's the right choice, just to bring it down to Mason Mount. Everyone knows what Mason Mount wants to do. He wants to get it onto his right foot and whip it in the far corner, and he gets the block in. It loops agonisingly over Mignolet. No chance. It's one as a keeper. Sometimes you've just got to accept your lot, but great moment for him. And England, we're talking about it before, finding answers without playing particularly well, but you find ways of getting back into the game. They've done that and they lead.
It was off an outstretched boot of Alderweireld that just took the ball up and away from Mignolet. There was nothing that he could do about that, and as expected, it is going to be Calvin Phillips replacing Jordan Henderson in the centre of midfield, and Calvert-Lewin is coming off for Harry Kane, and so Jordan Henderson, as you'd expect, has handed the captain's armband to Harry Kane, and Calvert-Lewin makes way. So that's the double change made by England, Rob Green.
Yeah, no, he like-for-like swaps in there, and two understandable ones. Calvert-Lewin starting the game on Thursday, and Jordan Henderson, as you're saying, Dano, not playing a lot of game time this season, but the conversations between Gareth Southgate and the managers must go on all the time. It must be like some sort of negotiation process of bargaining and which players play what minutes and stuff like that. It's such a complicated situation.
Mason Mount, if he is credited with that goal, his second for England in his 9th appearance as Lukaku into the penalty area. Lukaku with the cross, good header again by Walker. He's catching the eye in that England defence is Kyle Walker on his 50th cap. Mason Mount's only previous goal was away to Kosovo. England then lead by 2-1 as the cross is put in. A flying header at the far post by Kieran Trippier. He wasn't to know who was behind him. It was Lukaku who was lurking.
He knew he was behind him. He just didn't know where, and to make the right decision, just get it off, because Lukaku, he lives on those balls across the box. It was a great ball across the 6-yard box.
This could be a 9th consecutive win at home for England. It would be their best run since 2014 and 15 as De Bruyne with the corner kick. Deep touch on that far side by Alderweireld, only gives it to Kyle Walker. England now lead by 2-1. Phillips, good ball forward, and now taken on by Declan Rice, running out towards that right-hand side. Flag stays down. Rashford on the right-hand side. England 2-1 up here on BBC Radio 5 Live, playing from right to left. Calvin Phillips switches play to this near side. Good control by Trippier. Waits. And then back with Maguire. With the exception of Eric Dyer, every outfield player in the half towards our left-hand side. Walker, forward ball. Alexander-Arnold. Gareth Southgate will be delighted the way that his side have come from behind. And now to lead against Belgium, ranked number 1 in the world, as Rice makes that run out into space on the right-hand side. About 10 yards up from the byline. Alexander-Arnold hits it early. And away from Harry Kane, and it rolls out for a goal kick. So we're midway through the second half, and it's England who lead Belgium by 2-1. John Murray.
Yes, thank you, Ian. When you handed over midway through the first half, England were 1-0 down. Now they're 2-1 up, and Mason Mount, I'm told, has been credited with the goal, which I think's absolutely right. I think it was on target, but it took a really wicked deflection, looped off the outstretched foot of Toby Alderweireld and just dropped over the top of Mignolet.
It was perfect, wasn't it?
Yeah, from England's point of view.
Yes, yeah. But, we've been efficient. I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 shots on target.
In the whole match. Just going to have a look at that. Well, there've been a couple of sort of... Calvert-Lewin had that sort of deflected, scuffed effort. It was just gathered up by the goalkeeper, but those who look after the statistics will probably count that as a shot. So Belgium are now the team. Roberto Martinez's Belgium are the team that have to come from behind. Norway winning 3-0 now against Romania. Erling Haaland has scored again, his second goal of the match. That's in Northern Ireland's Nations League group. And we have commentary tonight on Scotland's match against Slovakia from 7:45. John Akers and Pat Nevin, who we heard earlier, they are inside Hampden Park. We'll keep you updated on Northern Ireland's match in the Nations League against Austria. And earlier, if you missed it, you didn't miss much. Republic of Ireland 0, Wales 0 in our earlier commentary this afternoon. So England leading Belgium by 2-1. BBC Radio 5 live from Wembley behind closed doors. Harry Kane is now onto the field, number 20 on his back, the England captain. Tonight winning his 48th cap, so he'll be the next to join the 50 club if all goes well. Kyle Walker winning his 50th tonight, and Belgium with the ball in front of their own penalty area. The ball's played across to Denayer, who will carry it out towards the far side and give it to Timothy Castagna of Leicester City. Still going Castagna. Carrasco available on the left-hand side, on the left wing. Kevin De Bruyne comes across. De Bruyne now plays a little ball into the penalty area. Castagna's continued his run, tries to pull it back, took a deflection off Eric Dyer, which carried it to the feet of Trippier, who was able to clear away. 20 minutes to go here at Wembley. The first of 2 matches in 2 months between these sides. England ranked number 4 in the world, and the Belgians ranked number 1. Belgium, who are unbeaten for almost 2 years of international football in 13 matches. They've won 12 and drawn 1 of them, but England leading by 2-1. Here's De Bruyne, middle of the England half. Across comes the other substitute for England, Calvin Phillips of Leeds United, winning his 3rd cap here this evening. I had a chat with him on Thursday after he started for England at Wembley for the first time, bursting with pride. Mason Mount winning the ball back. Now it's Harry Maguire playing as the left side of the 3 central defenders. Maguire is being put under pressure by Meunier, just works it to Trippier, who plays it back to Pickford, who quickly gets his left foot through it and clears it away downfield. In fact, Rashford's on the chase. Belgium should deal with this. It is dealt with by Denier, who plays it back to goalkeeper Mignolet at the other end. In the Nations League, Croatia won, Sweden won. Marcus Berg equalising for the Swedes. And in the Wales Republic of Ireland group, Finland now lead Bulgaria by 2-0. Fredrik Janssen with the goal for Finland. So England 2-1 up here, and Roberto Martinez is going to make his first change very shortly. Belgium with the ball inside their own half, played out towards De Bruyne, who's appeared out on the left wing on the halfway line. De Bruyne. Up it comes towards Lukaku, who opened the scoring from the penalty spot in the first half before Rashford equalised also with a penalty. Ball played into the middle. Carrasco with a chance. A little touch, and it rolls wide of the post. Delicately done in the middle by Carrasco. Pickford out to his feet, but he couldn't direct it goalwards. It's wide, and England still lead 2-1. Rob Green.
Oh, it's a wonderful ball from De Bruyne. I've been watching him for the last 10 minutes. He looks a little bit tired, a little bit jaded. In fact, he's coming off now. But the timing of the runs, Carrasco, the vision of De Bruyne, it's just a touch around Jordan Pickford, but wide of the post. But I think England might breathe a sigh of relief watching this guy go off.
Yes, that is it for Kevin De Bruyne. That's the end of his evening's action here at Wembley Stadium, where he's had so many successful experiences. He's won 6 trophies here in his time. Kevin De Bruyne walks off in quite lengthy discussions there with Roberto Martinez.
I think about 2-3 minutes ago he gave a wave over to the bench to say, I've had enough, and I'm not sure they saw him, but they certainly, once they realised, they certainly took him off quick enough.
Still talking. They're still chatting away there on the side of the pitch. I mean, it's all friendly stuff, we should say that, but a long conversation between captain and manager, and then De Bruyne's off and he gets a little touch on the back of his head from Roberto Martinez, and he's off to sit down on the bench. So he's off, and Jari Verscharen is coming on, who's a 19-year-old from Anderlecht, attacking midfielder. Great things are expected. It's his 6th cap, and he comes on as a substitute, just as he did against Ivory Coast in Brussels on Thursday night in that match that finished as a 1-1 draw. Rashford is away down the left-hand side, and I think he might have been caught by Meunier, who was pointing that he got a touch on the ball, but Rashford stayed down.
Meunier's covered a lot of ground this evening, Meunier, and he decided he wasn't doing any more on that run. He lunged in whether he was going to get the ball or not. He's pleading that he did. I think every England player thinks that he didn't, but it was certainly from behind, and certainly caught Rashford.
Belgium have sort of dropped off it, haven't they, in the second half?
He didn't win the ball at all there, did he? But he's the pace has slowed, and I think the runs in behind, Carrasco aside, they've really dropped off. And De Bruyne talking about the amount of games and the amount of effort that they have to put into games, and this quick succession of these games coming around. I think you're looking at it, and sometimes it was as the international guys who they'll have half an eye on the next game already, and just the quick turnaround, the nature of it.
England leading by 2-1. Rashford's okay. So Manchester United supporters and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, more importantly, will be relieved at that news, and he's up and moving around quite easily, actually, after that challenge by Meunier. Ball up towards the substitute Verscharen on the halfway line. Then it's lifted forward for Lukaku. Lukaku between two England men into the penalty area. A left-footed shot that's blocked by Walker, and then it's headed back across goal by Alexander-Arnold, who has conceded a corner. Pickford scrambling to his left, couldn't get there, and it's a corner. But they kept out Lukaku. Corner from the right. Carrasco trots over here. This is just down to our right, our position here at Wembley, low down to the right of the halfway line, just looking down at the back of the yellow number 11 on the back of his red shirt. The curling corner towards Lukaku, cleared by Walker. Then it's lifted up in the air on the edge of the box by Denayer, and then a shot on the turn there on the left-hand side, which by a falling Toby Alderweireld, which just disappears over high and wide and behind for a goal kick to Jordan Pickford and England, with the home side here leading by 2-1.
Yeah, just a run from Lukaku, a ball from out wide. He gets in between Dyer and Walker, but you know, they're in tune with each other, the two centre-halves, and they knew what they had to do, just get narrow, block off the goal, and they defended it well in the end. But they're big moments, these, and they look at it, and we're talking about England sort of with a view to progressing. Those are the big moments in games that you need to see out, and they're doing it at the moment.
Yeah, leading by 2-1. Gareth Southgate down there on the edge of the coaching area. Somebody's given him a big coat in the second half. And it is just a little chilly, I must say, on this autumn night. Reece James is going to come on for what will be his second cap, his competitive debut for England. I know Gareth Southgate was pleased with the performance that he put in against Wales the other night when he came on for the last half hour. Belgium coming forward, though, another long ball up towards Lukaku on the edge of the box. Walker with the challenge. Still Lukaku trying to get the shot in on the turn, but it was blocked by the outstretched foot of Kyle Walker. Kieran Trippier, though, couldn't get the ball away. Now Carrasco into the box on the right-hand side, still going towards the dead ball line, and it's blocked behind by Maguire for another Belgian corner. And the Belgians, Les Diables Rouges, are stepping it up.
Yeah, this again, similar ball for Lukaku to run onto, and again, that tight three in the England centre-halves having to be on the metal, ready to make the block because he was in the box and ready.
Defending set piece from Carrasco. Pickford comes, gets a half a touch on that, not cleared it, out to Lukaku, bounces down, cleared away by the hooked right leg of Alexander-Arnold on the edge of the box. Norway now leading Romania by 4-0, and that's a hat-trick for Erling Haaland. Disappointment in the week for Norway going out of the Euros in the semi-final, but 4-0 up in the Nations League. 2-1 to England here. Important result in the context of this group if they can see this through for the victory. Ball at the back with Belgium. Roberto Martinez will be hoping he has Eden Hazard fit for the return match in Brussels next month. You'll hear that on 5 Live as well. 3 more internationals next month in the international window. Dyer back to Pickford, and Pickford clears it towards the halfway line, where Mason Mount is challenged and beaten by Witsel, who's now got the captain's armband for Belgium. Axel Witsel winning his 108th cap tonight. And Reece James is coming on to replace Trent Alexander-Arnold. So a change, a straight swap. Rob, Reece James, the very promising Chelsea youngster, played a lot of football for Chelsea last season. Under 21 international. I think it was only going to be a matter of time, the way that he started, that he forces his way into the England reckoning. And here he is now in this very competitive position of right back, right wing back, getting another chance.
Yeah, impressive young man, impressive player, and yeah, he's one that you fast track these guys. You know they're going to get there. It's just a matter of when, as you say. But England need to get a foothold on the game again. They just allow Belgium to dictate play for the last 5-10 minutes, and just want to get some passes in, just keep hold of the ball, give themselves a breather, because when it's going back to Jordan Pickford, because of the energies and the efforts that the defence have had to put in, they're not then showing. They're taking the breather. They need to show. They need to get on the ball.
That's Rob Green. We'll hear from another England goalkeeper, from Ben Foster at half-time, the Watford goalkeeper, who's watching this game from afar, but he'll be talking with Steve Crossman. And before we get to Hampden for the Scotland-Slovakia game, we'll try and bring you the live interviews from down here on the touchline at Wembley Stadium. on a day when Lewis Hamilton won the Grand Prix, Rafa Nadal won the French Open. Good win for Tyrrell Hatton, not too far away from here at Wentworth in the PGA Championship Golf. The highlights of that are on BBC Two right now, I believe, as Kyle Walker playing the ball away from the back to Calvin Phillips. Reece James then to Phillips again, and Phillips works the ball up the right-hand side for Mason Mount. No sign of Jack Grealish yet this evening. Have you spotted him even warming up? No. And I think Ian was absolutely right. We saw the bandage on his leg the other evening. Perhaps he won't be involved at all. But Belgium coming forward with Carrasco through the middle this time. Turns away from Rice. Still going Carrasco into the penalty area. Stabs it forward, but under pressure. Too much on that for Lukaku, but referee Stieler says it took a touch off an England foot, and it is a corner to Belgium again, this time from the left.
Yeah, just looking at Jack Grealish, and there's a lot of important players on this pitch, but for Aston Villa, is there anyone more important to any club?
So it's a corner, Carrasco to take it. Right-footed in-swinger. Pickford comes and makes the catch. Unchallenged in the 6-yard box. Big sigh of relief for him. His performance under the spotlight this evening. So much talk about it. Conceded the early penalty. There wasn't anything he could do about that, Rob. No. And other than that, without wishing to tempt fate.
Let's put the mockers on him with 5 minutes to go. No, I think just moments like that he looks so assured when his mind's set. The previous cross he comes for, and he's got himself in about 4 different minds of what to do, and he goes to the punch and it just pretty much completely misses it. But there, he just looks so composed, and I think it's so mental for him that once his mind's set and he knows what he's doing, he's fine.
Yeah, let's leave it at that, not go any further down that avenue when there is still just under 10 minutes to play here at Wembley Stadium, and England are leading Belgium by 2-1. Long clearance from Pickford, which bounces almost up to the edge of the opposing penalty area. Rashford's got it, and he plays it across to Kane, and Kane with a little touch to his right to Mount, and Mount tries the shot that he rather screws via a deflection, it should be said, wide of goal for a corner.
Well, that's why Pickford's in the team. He saw the run of Rashford. It's a 70-yard pass, but he hits it perfectly to him. Ball gets played across to Mason Mount. I thought for a fraction of a second it would be 2 deflections in one game, but unfortunately wide.
There aren't too many goalkeepers who can, England qualified goalkeepers, who can spot a pass and deliver it like that. No. Corner then for England from the left-hand side. Set piece chance for England. It's in deep, and the header from the arriving Harry Kane. He got to it, but just a tiny glance on it sent it wide of the far post, and it's a goal kick to Belgium.
Well, he puts his head in his hands, and it's a huge chance for Harry Kane. 6 yards out, and relatively for him, his standards, a free header screws it wide. He just doesn't get enough on it. It's a wonderful opportunity, beating his man. Free header.
Yeah, chance, but it's still 2-1 to England, and Roberto Martinez making his latest change now. That's it for Carrasco, who's been one of the brightest players for Belgium this evening, the Atletico Madrid man. It's a straight swap. It's another teenager who's already brought on Verscharen. Now he's bringing on Jeremy Doku, the 18-year-old who is playing for Rennes, who have signed him within the course of the last few weeks or so from Anderlecht, having received the money for their goalkeeper Edouard Mendy from Chelsea. So Doku is on, and he's receiving the ball in an offside position on the far side, and it's a free kick to England in their own right back area. What have we got, Rob? 7 minutes plus added time to go.
Yeah, you just want to see England play with the confidence that they have done at times here today on the ball. You don't want to see them go into the shells, because in international football, when you get in the lead, you want to make it so hard, but the best way to do it is, well, the most obvious way is keeping the ball. Just keep playing.
Referee Tobias Stieler from Germany is pointing to his left wrist, indicating to England that he's going to be adding all of this time on, and they are taking a time over the delivery of this free kick, which Pickford eventually hits and strikes long downfield. Rashford lifts it forward. Mason Mount, who scored the second goal for England, with the ball on the right, but concedes a foul against Castagna, and it's a free kick to Belgium in their own left-back position. Yes, Mason Mount scoring the goal, and he is being credited with it, even though it took a big deflection up off Alderweireld and into the net. But his first goal for England at Wembley Stadium, and we might well be interviewing him if it stays like this and he turns out to be the, in inverted commas, match winner. ball with Belgium inside their own half. You'll hear all of those interviews, by the way, on the 5 Live Football Daily podcast that we gather here and from the other internationals. Downloaded in the morning. Rashford back to Rice. Rice back to Rashford in the middle. Rashford dances to the right and shoots over the top of the crossbar. And it seemed to have opened up for Marcus Rashford there. But the shot is over and it's a goal kick.
It's a great couple of 1-2s between Rice and Rashford, and Declan Rice in the left wing position cuts it back to Marcus Rashford. He has the opportunity to shoot once from the edge of the box, and once he takes his touch, you just feel like the ball was drifting away from him and he can't get his foot around it. Just strike it, just hit the ball, go for it, and he just waited that fraction too long.
Yeah, Marcus Rashford, who scored the equaliser from the penalty spot in the first half. He's actually scored 4 goals in his last 4 England appearances now. This is his first of this season, having missed the games last month. And Marcus Rashford, very much the man of the moment, but just couldn't keep it down there. Slightly off balance as he took it to the right side of the penalty area. England leading by 2-1. We're into the last 5 minutes now. And even though Belgium are missing important players, England are missing important players as well. We know about the various players who are unavailable. No Raheem Sterling as well. So Belgium might point to Hazard. England can point to Raheem Sterling.
But that's going to happen in football. You go to major tournaments, that's going to happen, you know, especially in the current COVID pandemic that we're in. You just don't know who you're going to lose and what players you're going to lose and when.
Yep. I think what I'm saying is that if England are able to win this, it'll be a very good win regardless. Here's Tielemans playing it to Castagna on the left-hand side. Castagna, little ball through to Lukaku, the danger man, the big threat, who gives it square to Witsel. Witsel just outside the box. Now to the right-hand side to Meunier, who is well challenged by Kieran Trippier, who puts in the challenge. The ball bounces back into the left back area behind him, and then he clears it downfield, and then Harry Kane is bundled over in the centre circle and wins an important free kick for England.
It's clever play from Lukaku. Eric Dyer's decided after about half an hour, I'm not going to get into physical battle with Lukaku.
How shrewd.
Yes, there wasn't going to be many winners, but it's just that allows Lukaku, gives him the time on the edge of the box just to pick a pass, but he picks it to Witsel, who is the deep-lying centre midfielder, and I don't think he's allowed to shoot. I don't think it's in his contract, because he certainly had all the opportunity and all the time to shoot there, and he didn't.
We're going to see Jadon Sancho coming on very shortly. One of the rule of 6 breakers earlier in the week. So Sancho just making his way down the steps from the very socially distanced substitutes, seats that are dotted all around the lower tier of Wembley Stadium to our left. As Belgium go back to goalkeeper Mignolet, the former Liverpool goalkeeper, now with Club Brugge, the Belgian champions. Ball in the middle with Witsel, who has to go back to Alderweireld. 2-1 to England. Alderweireld just walks forward with it, then gives it to his left to Tielemans, the other Leicester City man. And now Denayer. But England have dropped everyone back behind the ball. 2.5 minutes to play. Long ball from Alderweireld. Aerially goes to Lukaku, who gets it down with his chest. But just too much of it to Reece James, who's able left-footed just to hoist the ball away downfield back into the Belgian half. Belgium come again. Here is the newly arrived substitute playing up on the left-hand side, Doku. Back it goes into his own half, though, to Denayer. With that huge ponytail bobbing. Denayer knocks it infield. Alderweireld now to Tielemans. Tielemans again in the centre circle, giving it to Alderweireld. And Alderweireld back towards Denayer on the left-hand side. Just been handed a piece of paper here. It's like the Gettysburg Address. If I start reading this out, Croatia now lead 2-1. That's the important point. Croatia now lead 2-1 in their match. Right, latest substitution. It's Mason Mount who is being withdrawn, and Jadon Sancho is going to come on. So that's a straight swap as well out on the right-hand side for England. So Jadon Sancho is back in the England fold, winning his 14th cap tonight, the Borussia Dortmund man.
Yeah, it's a wonderful moment for Mason Mount. Just seeing the replays of the goal, and it's incredible. He'll turn around, he won't be bothered. He'll say it was going in anyway. But yeah, huge deflection, but could be the winner.
I don't think it was going in anyway, was it?
Well, I think Mignolet might have had something to say about it.
I think he might have done. England leading 2-1. We're in the 90th minute now. England just a few seconds away from what would be a very good win in the context of this group, although, of course, you do have to bear in mind that they will have to go to Brussels next month. England will play again in this group against Denmark here at Wembley on Wednesday night. We'll hear that in full on 5 Live. A big international Monday night club tomorrow night. Mark Chapman with Chris Sutton and Micah Richards and Rory Smith. Chris Sutton will be actually with us for the commentary on Wednesday evening on 5 Live. The ball at the back with Belgium. So added time coming shortly. Here's Verscharen, little slight fair-haired figure. 4 minutes of added time. England 4 minutes away from becoming the first team for 2 years to beat Belgium. Ball played out for Belgium out towards the far side, but above Doku, and it drifts out of play for a throw into England, who are doing very well actually, Rob, in slowing the game down.
Yeah, and they're in the shape. They're steady. They know what they need to do. They're not pressing too hard. They're just holding the shape. That's all you need to do for now. But getting the ball, can you come out and play? Can you show the confidence? Because this is good practice for later on. This is good practice for next summer. Getting in these positions, winning games, seeing them out.
Yeah, and listen, I think it shows, it's debatable, but the value and worth of the Nations League competition. As the ball's played over the top, but the offside flag is up, and it's a free kick to England on the edge of their own penalty area. The run from Castagna.
Well, we were here the other day, John, and the difference, there is a difference in the tempo to the game, the quality of the game, the meaning to the game as well. And that's what the meaningless friendlies that we had on Thursday, as much as it gave an opportunities to guys that might not normally play, you know, those were the ones they wanted to eradicate. And actually, these guys, this game now, England are playing this like it's a tournament game, and like they need to win it.
Yeah, and both of these teams, for the most part, in the qualifying matches for the Euros, for what are next summer's Euros, I mean, the number of goals that they scored, it was like shooting fish in a barrel. Belgium scored 40 in 10 matches. England scored 37 in 8. And Belgium won all of their matches. England lost just the one in Prague. England conceding a goal tonight for the first time for exactly a year. It was 12 months today that England last conceded a goal. Romelu Lukaku scoring from the penalty spot, but England have turned it around, and we have just over 2 minutes of added time to play before England would have the victory. Still got to play this cannily, though, against this Belgian side with the threats that they have. Trippier takes a throw for England down into the right back area, bounces down, Meunier clears. The referee says it's England's ball, and someone's whacked the ball away over to the far side, where, surprise, surprise, there's nobody in a white shirt.
It's a great ball by Harry.
It was a great ball, wasn't it?
He weighted it perfectly so he'd stay on the pitch. It was perfect.
That was probably about 60 yards away from anyone in an England shirt. And so he has to walk off the field and pick up a ball from the cone and then roll it down the line to Trippier, who takes the throw to Harry Kane, who's going to take this to the corner flag. He's got 2 Belgians with him. The challenge comes in. It's come off Kane. We've now got 90 seconds to play. So if it's going to be a Belgian equaliser, it's going to be a late one. Lukaku getting up, winning a header in the centre circle. Reece James comes across against Doku to keep the ball or win the ball back for England. Now Harry Maguire plays the ball over the top down the left-hand side. That's for Kane to chase. Kane down into the full-back position. And he's only going one way here, Harry Kane. And that's back out towards the corner flag. Actually plays it back to Rice. Now here's Rashford. Rashford back to Calvin Phillips. And we're into the final minute of added time now here at Wembley Stadium. Maguire actually goes for a ball over the top to Sancho on the edge of the box. It's headed partially away, and then the clearance is completed by a combination of Castagna and Denayer. It's got to go forward and quickly for Belgium. Verscharen is beaten by Harry Maguire on the halfway line, went in with a challenge and won it well against the teenager. So Belgium still in their own half, and we're in the last 30 seconds now. Meunier, with the outside of his boots, swings it over the top, but Eric Dyer's underneath that, and the ball deflects off Tielemans and out of play for a throw-in to England.
They've seen it out well, haven't they? They've looked comfortable. And, you know, 1 or 2 moments, how Lukaku coming through, Carrasco slipping one past the post. But, you know, guided by Carl Walker's reading of certain situations, England have looked solid defensively. We talk about Jordan Pickford's performance. And made a save.
That's it. Declan Rice, I noticed, just clenches a fist England have won it. They've beaten Belgium by 2-1. England have won against the world-ranked number 1 team in the world, and Belgium are beaten for the first time for 2 years. And this from a goal down, Rob Green, coming back from 1-0 down to win it 2-1.
Yeah, they found a way, and it wasn't the most fluent, it wasn't the most electric performance, but they found a way to win the game. And when they got in front, unlike Belgium, they looked solid, and they looked like, the defensive three, there was questions about them, there's questions about the goalkeeper. It looked like they'd been untested, but that's a sign of a good defence, well marshalled.
So England go to the top of this Nations League group after 3 matches. Romelu Lukaku scoring from the penalty spot in the first half when Belgium were having their best spell of the match. But Marcus Rashford with the equaliser, also a penalty just before half-time. And then Mason Mount scoring what turned out to be the winning goal, a deflected goal. Not a great deal in it, but England have edged it by 2-1 here at Wembley Stadium.
I think that's a really interesting thing that you just said there, Rob Green, because listening to it at the end, I was trying to decide how excited people should be by this performance, but they've just beaten the number 1 team in the world and seen it out really well.
Yeah, and it's not a performance that you'd go home and say, oh, no. There's no one there that was sparkling.